Chapter 34:17. Ning Shu covered his eyes. Through his fingers, he saw a flash of light in a box. Then, a naked man appeared. On the phone. There wasn't a single piece of cloth on his body. He stood in front of Ning Shu so calmly. This man had perfect facial features. He was thin, had wide shoulders, a narrow butt, and slender legs. Every part of him felt like it had been carefully sculpted. He was a perfect person. Ning Shu felt his eyes hurt. They were pierced by the strong light before, and now they were pierced again. This man's eyes were very pure. He was like a baby facing the world blankly. Ning Shu was speechless. What kind of sin did Uncle commit? What kind of gift was this? It wasn't surprise, it was fear. What did she want such a person for? So annoying. Especially this kind of person who didn't know anything. He was like a baby. It was really annoying. Master. When the man saw Ning Shu, he knelt down and said to Ning Shu. There wasn't a single piece of cloth on his body. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. What the hell? He expressionlessly opened the chat system. Ning Shu asked Uncle, what gift is this? Uncle, are you surprised? This is a puppet I made. Ning Shu didn't even want to say anything. Was he surprised? Ning Shu felt that the hatred between him and Uncle had deepened. Uncle, I'm so surprised that I can't speak. Actually, this puppet is only one step away from becoming a real living being. Moreover, it doesn't know the 7 emotions and 6 desires. If you teach it well, it can grow into what you want it to be. Do you know how to cultivate it? Ning Shu now believed that Uncle was a pervert, just like what the greedy wolf star said. Ning Shu didn't have the energy to cultivate a puppet. It was a waste of time and energy. If he had the time, he might as well go to the void world to find treasures. Moreover, if he had the time, he might as well cultivate a real person. What was the point of cultivating a puppet? Oh my God. Ning Shu felt his head hurt. Ning Shu had successfully dispelled the idea of having a birthday party. If he had another birthday party, he might get another puppet. She had to stay away from Uncle Chang in the future. Ning Shu said, I don't want this doll. Take it back. Eldest uncle, hey, you're not satisfied? Is it because her face is not good enough, or her figure is not good enough, or is her size not big enough? Ning Shu face-bombed. She really wanted to kill her uncle. In the future, her uncle would be her enemy. From now on, she wouldn't accept any of her uncle's strange gifts. Especially things that were packed in boxes. Ning Shu, they're all good. Uncle Zhang, then why don't you want it? I don't have time. I don't want to play with mannequins. Ning Shu said directly. She was busy. Most importantly, she did not want to teach a mannequin how to face the world. Ning Shu suddenly thought of the little girl from 9 Palace Mountain. He wondered how she was doing now. Ning Shu felt that he might have an ill-fated relationship with creatures like children. The mannequin had the body of an adult, but its mind was different. Little girl, you're ignorant. Mannequins are very fun to play with. They're highly intelligent, and the chip in their brains can carry a lot of knowledge. Uncle Chang felt that his meticulous creation was being looked down upon. It wasn't just a feeling. It was truly being looked down upon. Thus, Uncle Chang became unhappy. In order to create a suitable mannequin for you, I investigated many female mission enforcers' requirements for men. The size of their faces and figures were all done through social research. This is the most perfect mannequin. Ning Shu really wanted to cry. She glanced at the half-kneeling mannequin. If she didn't tell him to get up, he wouldn't know either. There was no expression on his face. An emotionless mannequin. Ning Shu felt her eyes hurt. He said to Uncle Chang, can I change my gift? I don't think this gift suits me very well. No, you can't. You've already opened it. The chip has already determined that you're the owner. This mannequin is unique to you. No one else can use it. If it couldn't be used, how could it be used? Ning Shu said, I still don't want it. Then this mannequin can only be destroyed. Sigh, it's been hard on me to create a mannequin for you. I feel like my creation isn't recognized. Ning Shu, hee, this thing is yours? You can do whatever you want with it. You don't have to tell me. You can deal with your things. Uncle Chang unilaterally accepted the topic. Ning Shu wanted to say something, but Uncle Chang had already ignored him. Ning Shu's head hurt. He told the mannequin to get up. The mannequin stood up directly. Its crotch was swaying. It was very irritating to the eyes. Ning Shu felt that Uncle Chang had a bad taste. Ning Shu got a set of clothes and said to the mannequin, "Do you know how to wear these clothes?" The mannequin said, "Yes." His voice was very magnetic and very masculine. According to Uncle Chang, he had gathered all the charm of a man into this mannequin. But it didn't have any personality at all. The mannequin smoothly put on the clothes. In front of Ning Shu, he slowly put on the clothes. He was really full of charm. After he finished putting on the clothes, he looked at Ning Shu. The two of them looked at each other. The mannequin said first, "According to the analysis of the information I received, you don't like me and reject me?" Ning Shu said, "That's right." Ning Shu felt that he was about to have a heart attack. He thought that with Uncle Chang's status, his gift would be very precious. In the end, it was such a gift. Facing his master's rejection, the mannequin didn't have any emotions. He wasn't afraid or sad. He asked, "Master, are you going to destroy me?" His voice was very calm. If he wanted to deal with this mannequin, it was like a computer. It was a machine. It just appeared in the form of a human. It wasn't even considered a life. The mannequin stood there quietly. He wasn't worried about his future at all. He was numb. Would a machine feel anything? Forget it. He would just treat this mannequin as a machine and put it in a corner. Ning Shu said, "You can stay here now." The mannequin stood in the corner. He didn't move at all, just like a wooden stake. Ning Shu's head hurt. However, this mannequin was really good looking. It was perfect, except that it didn't have any humanity. This robot's looks were really good. Forget it. He would just put it in a corner. It would be nice to look at. Ning Shu patted the sofa next to him and said, "Come and sit. I have something to ask you." The mannequin sat down. The sofa sank. It seemed that this mannequin wasn't light. Ning Shu asked, "What's your name?" The mannequin said, "I don't have a name. Master, please give me a name." Ning Shu said, "I haven't thought of a name yet. Let's talk about it later." Giving a name wasn't a simple matter. If he really gave a name, this mannequin would be his. He couldn't just abandon it. This was a responsibility. Ning Shu looked at this mannequin. To be honest, he couldn't treat this mannequin as a machine. Translator, Lonely Tree Editor, Millman 97. Chapter 34:18. How could a machine look like a human? Even if it was a robot, it still had very strong lines. Please take a look at the most complete. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. But this puppet looked like a real person on the surface, with delicate facial features and soft white skin. Uncle Chang's technology was so good that he almost wanted to create living creatures. Ning Shu felt that Uncle Chang's ultimate goal was probably to create living creatures. But living creatures were not things that could be created just by saying so. No matter how advanced the technology was, the uniqueness of living creatures could not be controlled. To be precise, they were living creatures. Puppets were not living creatures. This was the essential difference. Without being given a name immediately, the puppet did not show any emotion. It just said, "Master, is there anything you are not satisfied with?" The puppet's intelligence was the program, not the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Ning Shu said, "It's my own psychological barrier." The puppet said, "Do you need psychological counseling?" Ning Shu said, "No, I'm fine now. I can save myself." The puppet did not speak anymore. Then there was a suffocating silence. Ning Shu stood up and went directly to the world of Samsara to check on the recovery of the skeletons. Many of the skeletons were injured during the war. The skeletons were recovering well. Ning Shu went to the second level of the 9 Palace Mountain and walked into the cave. He heard a hoarse voice and a child's babbling. Although it was not very clear, Ning Shu could understand what the child was saying. Damn, why did it feel like the child had learned to talk in the short time that he had not been here? Ning Shu walked into the cave and saw a little girl walking with her hands on the wall. She was white and tender and saliva was dripping out of her mouth. When she saw a stranger coming, She quickened her pace and walked in with her hands on the wall. Ning Shu was speechless. He felt that he had missed a whole century. How could this child walk? And she could talk. Did time pass so quickly? Did time flow faster in this world? The earthworm had learned to talk. When the earthworm saw Ning Shu, it rolled its eyes and said in a hoarse voice, "What are you doing here?" Ning Shu felt that the earthworm was very resentful. "I'm here to see the child." "What's there to look at? I left it here and didn't care about anything else. What are you looking at now?" Ning Shu reached out and pinched the child's smiling face. It was tender and smooth, but a little dirty. He didn't know how earthworms bathed their children. Did they use their tails to wrap them up and throw them directly into the water to wash them? In that case, the child would have to drink a lot of bathwater. This child seemed to have grown up like a wild animal. Ning Shu had nothing to say. After all, she wasn't the one who raised this child. She didn't fulfill any responsibility and had no right to speak. She shut up. The little girl was very close to earthworms and was not afraid of the snake-like earthworms at all. On the contrary, they were very wary of Ning Shu and hid far away. It was normal that they weren't close. The earthworm spoke to the little girl. Perhaps he was not used to speaking. His voice was so hoarse that if one did not listen carefully, one would not be able to hear what he was saying. "In the future, when you see this ugly woman, stay away from her. She's a human trafficker, a weird auntie. She's going to sell you to the mountains." Ning Shu. "That's too much. How could it be like this?" Ning Shu said, "I'm here to see what the child needs. She's growing now and needs clothes." The earthworm, "By the time you get your clothes, the child will have to run naked." Ning Shu was a little impatient to listen to the earthworm's mockery and said directly, "Well, it's my fault. If there's nothing else you need, I'm leaving." The earthworm, "Braid the child's hair. If you don't cut her hair short, I can't braid her hair." Ning Shu thought about it and gave the child a serious bath. She also washed her hair. "The child has lice." "That's impossible. I wash her every day." Ning Shu felt that living in a cave was not a problem. It was particularly easy to get wet, and it was not good for the child's life. Living in a thatched hut was better than living in a cave. Ning Shu said, "Let's build a house. It's not good to always live in a cave." The earthworm had no objection. He bathed the child, evaporated the water in her hair, and tied 2 braids for the child. "I'm not very good at building houses. Go out and find some carpenters to do it." Ning Shu went directly to the town and found a team to build the house. These craftsmen were all dumbfounded. They had suddenly come to the wilderness. They were afraid that they had met an immortal. They must be immortal cultivators. Ning Shu asked these craftsmen to build the house. She would find the materials needed. You can get anything you want with bricks and tiles. Silver was not worth much. She could get it. The earthworm did not appear from beginning to end. After all, ordinary people would be afraid of his appearance. Ning Shu held the little girl and ordered the craftsman. Ning Shu thought of something. The little girl was already 1 year old, but she did not have a name. He had to give her a name. Ning Shu asked the earthworm, "What do you usually call the little girl?" The earthworm, "Call her Mississippi, Ning Shu." "That's a good name." The earthworm rolled his eyes. "How can you give her such a casual name? You should be careful. Give her a beautiful and elegant name. A girl's name has to be nice. It has to be like a flower." Ning Shu, "Like a flower? Like a jade?" The earthworm, "Why do you call her dead fish? She's the child of your enemy." Ning Shu sighed. "You were the one who said it had to be like a flower." The house was built very quickly. Ning Shu stayed in this world until the house was built. He also bought a lot of things for the house. During this time, the little girl was not so wary of Ning Shu. She was much closer to him. When she saw that Ning Shu was about to leave, she grabbed Ning Shu's finger. Ning Shu said, "Miss, be good." "Sister, no, Auntie is leaving." Ning Shu's heart collapsed when he thought about how he had given birth to this child. He was actually not the child's mother. If the child thought that he was her mother and didn't care enough for her, she would definitely resent him. If he told the truth, it would be too cruel to the child. The child's background was actually very bitter. Therefore, Ning Shu told the earthworm that if he asked about the child's parents in the future, he would say that he picked the child up and didn't know who her parents were. The earthworm. You're such a jerk. Ning Shu. Then do you think it's good for the child to know the truth? The earthworm knew the child's background. He couldn't let the earthworm take care of the child without telling it anything. The earthworm. She crawled out of your stomach? You have to say that she's an orphan. Ning Shu and the earthworm discussed a plan to deal with the child's questions in the future. Well, say that I picked her up. I played in the forest every day and then picked her up in a wooden basin in a small stream, the earthworm said. Translator, Lon_editor, Ephidacia. Chapter 34:19. Ning Shu made up a perfect life story with the earthworm so that he could answer the child's questions calmly in the future. The earthworm was full of contempt for Ning Shu. Oh, woman. Oh, go ahead, it doesn't matter. Did he just have to tell the child who her parents were? Besides, he couldn't see them anymore. Both of them were probably reincarnated now. It was impossible for the little tadpole to find its mother. After buying a lot of things for the family, Ning Shu said, you can't always give the child milk powder in the future. She should eat complementary food. Ning Shu looked at the earthworm. Can you make food? The kitchen was ready-made. The earthworm rolled its eyes. I don't need to eat human food. If I can be human food, it'll be against the natural order. She has complementary food. It was sent by the skeleton. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. Where did Zhu Jun find complementary food? Ning Shu looked at the complementary food jar. These were all very modern things. Did Zhu Jun carry her to the world of the living? All right, Zhu Jun's legs were grown on his body. Zhu Jun could go wherever he wanted. He just didn't know how to get there. Did Zhu Jun have the ability to pass through the bit wall? Ning Shu was going to make something for the child to eat before leaving. He boiled the porridge until it was very thick and sprinkled some vegetables in it. A very simple porridge was made. Ning Shu asked the earthworm, didn't you change the diet? What do you eat now? The earthworm said, spirit stones and things with spiritual chi. His mouth was still so picky. Will the spirit stones produce toxins? The earthworm's toxins were a big killer. Without toxins, the earthworm's ability to protect itself would be reduced a lot. Ning Shu laughed and condensed a drop of black stuff on his fingertip. It was a bit smelly, dirty and smelly. The earthworm bounced up and looked at the black sticky drop. How can you condense this thing? Ning Shu said, because I'm gifted. Your poison is useless to me in the future. The earthworm was very unhappy. I've condensed other poisons now. They have the same effect, and they're even more poisonous than before. What kind of poison can overpower the 7 emotions and 6 desires? Ning Shu didn't believe it at all. There was no way to get rid of this soul poison once it came into contact with it. There was nothing more poisonous than this. The earthworm was speechless and could only say, you two-legged monsters are the most poisonous in the world. Seeing the earthworm and baby girl, Ning Shu finally knew how to deal with the dolls in the system space. Letting the mannequin take care of the child was a good thing. She didn't really want to see a doll right now. Ning Shu said to the earthworm, I want to find someone to take care of you. He just didn't know if the dolls were good for life skills. Didn't Uncle Zhang say that the doll was perfect? It had many advantages, except that it wasn't a real person. It was even more perfect than the Sword Monarch. The Sword Monarch was equivalent to a weapon. It would carry out the orders you gave it. Other than that, it would not have any intelligence. This doll, on the other hand, could have an intelligence and make appropriate responses. The earthworm was unwilling. Who are you looking for? I've taken care of the child until now. Why didn't you find someone to help when the child only knew how to cry and poop? He had already endured through the most difficult times. What was the point of putting on an act now? Ning Shu said. Are you afraid that someone will come and distract the child from you? You're not a human. The child still needs to interact with people. The earthworm said, okay, you can get someone to take care of her. I don't plan to take care of her. The earthworm was now like a parent whose child's education had been interfered with. She was very unhappy. Ning Shu said, okay, I won't get anyone to take care of her. She was getting rid of the donkey after it had outlived its usefulness. Since the earthworm was unwilling, so be it. Moreover, the child had always lived with the earthworm and was already used to it. If she really handed the child over to someone else, the child might not be used to it. The earthworm rolled her eyes and said directly, "Goodbye. I won't see you off." The earthworm was very unhappy with Ning Shu. He didn't put in any effort to take care of the child, but now he was ordering the child around. How shameless! Ning Shu fed the girl a bowl of porridge and left. When she returned to the system space, she found that the system space looked brand new. There were new flowers on the coffee table, and the place had been cleaned. It was shiny. There were also pastries on the table. Ning Shu suspected that she had come to the wrong place. Although her system space wasn't like a pigsty, it wasn't so clean. The sofa pillows were casually thrown on the ground. Now, the pillows were placed neatly on the sofa. Even the shape of the pillows was the same. It was like obsessive-compulsive disorder. Everything was neat and tidy. The doll stood in the corner, but because of its appearance and figure, it had a very strong presence. Ning Shu asked, "Did you make this?" In this system space, other than the system, there was only this doll. The system was next door and couldn't come in at all, so this could only be made by the doll. Ning Shu looked at the doll and asked, "Why did you do this?" The doll's voice was full of charm. "Because I analyzed the current situation. You're not very satisfied with me, so I had to do something to gain your favor and please you." Ning Shu was speechless. "Where did you buy the cake?" Ning Shu asked. "In the Precept City." Ning Shu was a little surprised. "How did you get there?" This doll could go to the Precept City and had money to buy things. The doll said, "I have a teleportation mechanism in my body. I can go anywhere. I used your identity card to buy the cake." Ning Shu was speechless. This doll was really powerful. Uncle Zhang really put in a lot of effort. Ning Shu asked, "Besides being able to teleport to other places, do you have any other abilities?" "Master, what abilities are you referring to?" Ning Shu said, "Fighting. When it comes to fighting, I'm not very good at it because the huge destructive power will destroy my body," the doll said honestly. So that was the case. After all, it was a doll. Although he didn't know what material was used to make it look like a real doll, it was relatively easy to destroy. "Do you want to eat the cake?" The doll opened the box and cut out a piece for Ning Shu. His hands were slender and white, and they complemented the cream on the cake, shining brightly. People who liked faces, voices, and hands could find something to be obsessed with from this doll. Uncle Zhang must have been bored to think of making a doll like this. If one wanted to become a god of creation and create living beings, there would be an endless stream of dolls made, and there would also be many failures. Ning Shu really didn't know how to thank Uncle Zhang. The doll held the cake and bent over to look at Ning Shu. Ning Shu took the cake from him and took a bite. The cake was very sweet. Ning Shu put it down and said, "Have you ever thought of changing places? To the world of reincarnation?" "No, I only have Master in my heart. When you opened the box, my program was already activated." Chapter 3420. I can't serve anyone else, so when Master doesn't need me anymore, my program will automatically destroy itself, the doll said calmly. It didn't show any emotion. It didn't show any fear when it said it was going to be destroyed. Perhaps it didn't even know what fear was. It didn't have any emotions. All its actions were controlled by the program. "Master, you still don't like me. Why is that? Please tell me. I'll try my best to improve," the doll said. The program in its head was probably running quickly, analyzing the situation in front of it. From its point of view, the micro-expressions on Ning Shu's face were magnified infinitely. It had to capture the slightest expression, whether it was disgust, like, or impatience. Through these micro-expressions, the doll had to accurately analyze its master's current emotions. Micro-expressions couldn't be controlled by humans. Subconscious actions and emotions were all shown. Ning Shu just said, "It's nothing. You can stay here for now." "Master, have you accepted me?" Ning Shu rubbed its head. "Don't call me Master." Did it know it was embarrassing? The doll asked, "Then how should I address you, Master?" Just call me by my name. Okay, Ning Shu, the doll said smoothly. It had to be said that the doll's voice was too pleasant to listen to. Hearing her name from its mouth made her feel numb and electrified. If you need anything, please let me know. I'll be at your service. The doll looked at Ning Shu. Its eyes were deep and moving, as if there were billions of stars in them. Being looked at like this, it was like being the center of the world, the focus of the world. Ning Shu didn't know why her uncle had made such a charming doll. According to the Greedy Wolf star, Greedy Wolf had a twisted relationship with his doll. Was it true? He had made his doll perfect and full of charm. And he only had eyes for her. After interacting with her day and night, he might really fall in love. Ning Shu looked at the doll and quickly shook her head. She wasn't a pervert like her uncle. What did she have to do with dolls? There was a real person. Even if she wanted to find one, she had to find one with emotions. Not a puppet, an emotionless puppet. Ning Shu said to the doll, I have a new mission for you. Since you have the power to travel, you can wander around the 4 cities of earth, wood, water, and prophecy. If anything happens, tell me. The doll asked, Is this the mission you gave me, Ning Shu? Yes, this is your mission. Ning Shu thought for a while and asked, Do you eat anything? Any living creature or thing that could move required energy. Only with energy could they move. The mannequin did not seem to need to eat, so what energy did it need? The puppet said, There's a formation in my body that requires regular insertion of spirit stones. Spirit stones, they weren't that precious. However, the higher the level of the energy, the longer it can last. For example, energy bodies. Ning Shu was speechless. An energy body. This puppet was probably going to ascend to the heavens. The doll that absorbed the energy would probably become the most expensive doll. Normally, I can absorb spirit energy myself. The formation can gather spirit energy. Don't worry, master, the puppet said. It could absorb energy by itself. How worrisome. Uncle's craftsmanship was great. Ning Shu asked, Does Uncle make many dolls like you? Marionette. Yes, many mission enforcers would actually buy marionettes from Uncle so that they could help with some trivial matters. So, Master, you can treat me as a cleaning robot or something else. There's no need to hold a grudge against me. If it was just an ordinary robot without such a realistic human skin, it would be fine. However, it was really difficult to treat it as a cleaning robot. Wasn't it good to look like a cleaning robot? Sometimes, appearances could really confuse people. Ning Shu said to the puppet, Then go to those cities now. If there's anything, tell me. Understand? Understood. The puppet nodded. The puppet left in an instant. Ning Shu felt that the puppet's spatial laws were even better than hers. What was this? She wanted to teleport as many as possible. Ning Shu's puppet was in the system space. Ning Shu instantly collapsed to the ground. He opened the exchange store and exchanged for fasting pills and the like. He was ready to do the mission. He had already wasted so much time. It was time to do the mission. However, Ning Shu thought of something. She had heard from her uncle that the puppets were omniscient and had created a perfect program. Ning Shu chuckled and summoned the puppet back. He asked, Do you know where Jingqing is now? The puppet's program was probably searching. After a while, it said to Ning Shu, I found him, but I can't open him. What do you mean you can't open him? The puppet said, This question is beyond my authority. It's the kind that can't be answered. Ning Shu asked, Then how can I open this authority? I don't know. This question is clearly beyond my authority. I shouldn't know this question, and neither should Master, the puppet said. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. It was fine if the puppet didn't know, but why did it have to be encrypted? He was speechless. Ning Shu asked, How can I know? After a while, the puppet said, You can destroy my program and cause it to go haywire. Perhaps you'll know. Ning Shu nodded. What will happen to you if the program goes haywire? I'll be destroyed. My actions are all controlled by the program. Ning Shu said, Then forget it. I won't ask. They still needed the puppet to patrol the city. There was no need to lose a puppet for Jingqing. Besides, she had found Jingqing to hit him when he was down and show off. This wasn't important. There was no need to destroy the program. Then you can go back to work. The puppet said, "You don't need to destroy my program." Ning Shu said, "No need, no need." Although she really wanted to know how Jingqing was doing in his bath in the law of nothingness. There was no need to sacrifice a helper just to see Jingqing. Jingqing's life or death had nothing to do with her. If she could see him, it would be nice to hit him when he was down. If she couldn't, it didn't matter. The puppet returned to the city and said to Ning Shu, "Master, do you really not want to give me a name?" Ning Shu asked, "What name do you want to be called?" The puppet said, "I'll be called whatever name Master gives me. I exist because of Master. There's only Master in my program." Ning Shu clutched his chest. Those who knew that the puppet was telling the truth, but those who didn't know would think that he was sweet-talking. Chapter 34-22. Even if Chu Tianfeng insisted on testing her NA, it was impossible for him to do so. If he wanted to test it, he would. Old Master Chu said, "Yongning is my son. I don't even know if he's my son." "No need. Grandpa, how can you be so careless and let someone enter the Chu family?" Ning Shu said, "Don't worry, you'll inherit the Chu family in the future. I won't take a single cent from the Chu family. You're eating and using the Chu family's money now. What right do you have to say such things?" Old Master Chu's face turned ugly. He slammed the table. "What are you doing? Can't you eat properly?" Ning Shu picked up some food and placed it on the plate in front of Old Master Chu. "Don't be angry. Tianfeng is the younger generation. We're the elders. We have to be magnanimous." Ning Shu wasn't angry at all. He didn't want to argue with the younger generation. Chu Tianfeng was angry. What right did a child of a mistress have to be in the Chu family? Ning Shu was a little puzzled. Why was this identity the child of a mistress? After that, Ning Shu asked Old Master Chu, "Is my mother really your mistress?" Old Master Chu said angrily, "Am I the kind of man who has a mistress?" Ning Shu nodded. "Where else would I come from? Out of thin air. You're not my biological son. You're my friend's son. Your parents died in an accident along with Tianfeng's parents. You were still young at that time, so I adopted you as my youngest son." Ning Shu almost gave Old Master Chu a thumbs up. If he knew what was going on, Ning Shu would have believed Old Master Chu's nonsense. It didn't matter what identity he had, as long as he had a proper identity. Who knew what the plot of this world was like? Anyway, he just had to follow Chu Tianfeng. He had all the time in this world. Old Master Chu arranged a position for Ning Shu in the company. He asked Ning Shu to go to work. Chu Tianfeng was a domineering Xiu. Only by going to work could he get close to Chu Tianfeng. On the first day of work, Chu Tianfeng showed his power to Ning Shu by scolding her in front of all the employees. Ning Shu retorted expressionlessly, putting Chu Tianfeng on the spot. This made Chu Tianfeng dislike Ning Shu even more. Ning Shu didn't mind. He just kept an eye on Chu Tianfeng's movements. He used his mental power to observe Chu Tianfeng. Since he didn't know the plot, he could only look for a breakthrough from Chu Tianfeng. Hearing that Chu Tianfeng was going to attend an auction at a high-class clubhouse, Ning Shu also got an invitation and went with him. This auction house was quite mysterious. Everyone who participated in the auction had to wear masks. It was said that this auction house had everything. Everything would be auctioned. Ning Shu found a place to sit down and began the auction. The auction items included jewelry, calligraphy, paintings, antiques, and even people. When a cage was pushed over, there was a woman wearing very little inside. This woman was very cute and was extremely shy in front of everyone. She curled herself into a ball and used the few remaining clothes on her body to cover her naked body. Where was the auctioneer? No wonder everyone who came to attend had to wear a mask and didn't show their province. They were actually buying and selling people. And such a beautiful woman. Ning Shu's attention was all on the woman in the cage. This woman also had luck. She was probably the female lead. The female lead was actually locked in a cage for people to buy and sell. This was the first time he had seen it. A girl as pure as a little white rabbit, That shivering appearance could really arouse a man's bloodlust and make him want to abuse her. Many men present were ready to make a move. A man with a big belly had already started to bid. One person made a bid, and a second person made a bid. When Gu looked at these men who were bidding, their eyes were hot and had a nauseating aura, as if they wanted to swallow her up. If it wasn't for her brother's medical expenses, she would have been brought to this place. At the last moment, when Gu regretted it, these men were too disgusting. Was there no good person here? Ning Shu didn't bid. Instead, he observed Chu Tianfeng. According to the attraction between these two people, Chu Tianfeng would definitely buy her. The evolution of this world really made Ning Shu confused. Chu Tianfeng's finger tapped on the table rhythmically, indicating that he was very interested in the woman in the cage. The price was still rising. Hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars were all coming. Chu Tianfeng still didn't bid. Ning Shu raised his sign and made a bid. It was probably because the things they snatched were better. The higher the price, the more people would bid. The woman in the cage shivered. The more she aroused a man's desire to conquer. The people here were either rich or respectable. Money was just a string of numbers. They could do whatever they wanted. When Gu shivered under the unscrupulous gazes, she tried her best to cover her exposed skin with the cloth on her body. Now she regretted it very much. But what was done could not be undone. When Gu hoped that the man who bought her would be a good person, Chu Tianfeng didn't bid, but this woman's price was already very high. She was considered the best. Her value lay in her unique youthful and pure aura. This was what men liked the most. Every man wanted to be a woman's first man, but a woman wanted to be a man's last woman. In short, he wanted to have a taste. As for how to deal with this woman after that, it was a small problem. Anyway, Ning Shu's heart had already sorted out the situation. It was probably because the female lead had to sell her body for some reason and met a generous buyer. Then they started to have sex. And they were torturing her body and her heart. I bought you. I can do whatever I want to you. The female lead endured the humiliation. My dignity has already been trampled to this extent. Ning Shu wasn't interested in this farce. In any case, the last two people were HP. As for torturing her body and her heart, the two of them enjoyed it. One took the initiative, the buyer. The other took the humiliation, the seller. Ning Shu was thinking, if she bought this woman, would she also have a relationship with her that would develop over time? Because he took her body, the female lead's heart belonged to Chu Tianfeng. Ning Shu propped up his chin. He was a little bored. The price soared to 100 million. 100 million? Ning Shu felt that the inflation in this world was a little serious. Money was a piece of waste paper. It was easily 100 million, tens of billions, hundreds of billions. So expensive. The female lead was really expensive. So much money. Ordinary people couldn't earn it in 100 lifetimes. Compared to those girls on the street, the female lead was forced to do this because she had no other choice. She was pure and flawless. She was forced. She had difficulties. She was pitiful. Many reasons covered her desire to get rich overnight. Only by getting rich could she solve the problem. It's the fastest novel website. Chapter 34-23. Sure enough, the only way to solve problems was to get rich. Even the pure female lead had to lower her head for money. She had to suffer humiliation while counting money, but she also had to put up with it because of her own difficulties. She had to love silently while feeling inferior, enduring the contempt and humiliation of the person she loved. Ning Shu felt tired just thinking about such a complicated psychological process. Ordinary people worked hard, exhausting themselves physically and mentally, but the female lead endured all this and received a large sum of money. If she could get so much without suffering, wouldn't people criticize her? The benefits behind this love were very obvious. Ning Shu felt stuffy with the mask on, but Chu Tianfeng could hold on. Anyway, she wouldn't bid anymore. Who knew what would happen if she bought it? It was none of her business how they liked to be in love. Her mission was to find the opportunity for evolution, remove the obstacles, and help the plane evolve. Speaking of which, this mission was difficult because she couldn't grasp the opportunity for the plane's evolution. But it was also simple because there was no client, so she didn't have to fulfill the client's wish. Ning Shu watched these men bid in boredom. Probably because of the protagonist aura, this female lead attracted many men to compete. Chu Tianfeng would probably win the female lead in one fell swoop and bring her back to be lovey-dovey. Chu Tianfeng really liked this. He didn't have a proper girlfriend, but actually came here to auction a girl. What was the difference between this and prostitution? Thinking of this, Chu Tianfeng's high-end and domineering CO style disappeared with the wind. He became so wretched. No amount of beautification could hide the fact that Chu Tianfeng was a prostitute. Ning Shu thought about it and also raised his paddle, preparing to raise the price. This way, when Chu Tianfeng bid, it would definitely shock everyone. Ning Shu was helping Chu Tianfeng get the limelight. Chu Tianfeng finally raised his paddle and said, 100 billion. Ning Shu, sigh, the money in this world was so cheap. Why was it so worthless? Hundreds of billions, he didn't understand the world of the rich. Although the mask covered his face, it exposed his chin. Just from the chiseled chin alone, one could tell that this person was very handsome. In particular, the aura of his entire body could not be faked. When Gu looked at this man and her face started to turn red. With such a high price, probably no one else would bid anymore. Chu Tianfeng's price had successfully silenced everyone present. After all, it was not worth it to spend so much money on a woman. There were plenty of women out there. Why would he spend so much money on a wooden club? Ning Shu stretched lazily. Next, it should be time to hide a mistress in a golden house. It seemed that no matter what era, human trafficking was the norm. Even though the current society was very equal, the darkness behind equality still existed. The woman was carried away and would be sent to Chu Tianfeng when the time came. Sigh, this nephew of his is also lonely and needs a woman. Ning Shu left the club and waited at the door for Chu Tianfeng to come out. When Chu Tianfeng came out, a woman followed closely behind him. It was the girl who had just been auctioned off. The girl was very shy. She walked with her head down and bumped into Chu Tianfeng's back. She hurriedly apologized, I'm sorry. Ning Shu rolled down the window and said to Chu Tianfeng with a smile, the playboy is willing to spend a lot of money for a beauty. How bold and daring. Seeing Ning Shu, Chu Tianfeng's face fell. Now that he had calmed down, Chu Tianfeng also felt that his brain was too hot. He had an inexplicable impulse when he saw this girl. Seeing her in a cage, wearing very little, and being looked at like this, he was quite unhappy. He bought her at a high price. Now that the mistress's son had found out, if he complained to his grandfather, he would be scolded by his grandfather. Ning Shu looked at the female lead who was wearing clothes. She's pretty. She probably has some difficulties to bear with such humiliation. Let me guess. Grandfather, grandmother, father, mother, brother and sister are sick and need a large sum of money to pay for medical expenses. Or is the family in debt? It was undeniable that this was the fastest way to earn money. It was a shortcut. The other jobs were too slow to earn money. And in this kind of place, the people who came were either rich or respectable. Money was nothing to these people. When Gu felt a little embarrassed. That was indeed the case. She had no choice but to do this. Chu Tianfeng hated this man. A mistress's child openly entered the Chu family and considered himself a member of the Chu family. Shameless. Ning Shu smiled, looking more and more like a gigolo. Nephew, I advise you not to bring this girl home. If you do, father will have a heart attack. Especially since you spent so much money. A quarter of the company's income is gone just like that. Father will be so angry that he won't be able to eat. Find another place to hide your mistress. Ning Shu winked at the two of them and waved 2 fingers at the end of his eyebrows. Goodbye, my good nephew. Uncle will keep this matter a secret for you. Chu Tianfeng said coldly, I don't need your fake kindness. Ning Shu rolled up the window. When Gu saw the cold aura around the buyer and felt a little timid, did I bring you trouble? Get in the car, Chu Tianfeng said coldly. When Gu immediately got in the car obediently, not knowing what to do. She thought about it and felt that some things had to be made clear. I'm only selling my virginity. Chu Tanfeng sneered and said coldly, "Are you worth that much? You're selling your virginity for so much money. How long you want to stay with me is up to me. I spent so much money for one night?" Wen Ji's eyes were filled with tears. Her self-esteem was trampled into the mud. She endured the humiliation and said, "You said it was only my virginity. You've already bought it for me. How long is up to me? When I get tired of you, the deal is over." Chu Tianfeng was angry because of Ning Shu, so his words were especially rude. Poor Wen Ge became a punching bag. She was so angry that her whole body was shaking. She thought that he was a good person, but she didn't expect him to be so bad. And he didn't follow the deal at all. Didn't she say that she was only selling her virginity? She didn't even know that the deal was over. She had to wait until the buyer got tired of her. But when would that happen? When the buyer took off his mask, he was so handsome that Wen Ji's heart was a little comforted. She only had this body left. If she could use this body to do something for her family, it would be good. Instead of being with a disgusting man, if she lost her virginity to such a man, it wouldn't be a loss. But it was only one night, and now it had developed to an irregular period. Wen Ge found it hard to accept. "You can't do this." Wen Ge made a final struggle. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. Chapter 34-24. When Ning Shu returned home, he saw old Master Chu sitting on the sofa with a walking stick. He looked at Ning Shu and asked, "Why didn't Tianfeng come back with you?" Ning Shu looked at old Master Chu. He probably knew what his grandson had done and was waiting for Chu Tianfeng to come back and denounce him. "Dad, it's late. Let's sleep. Tianfeng is already an adult." Moreover, Chu Tianfeng had just bought a beautiful girl. He definitely wanted to spend the night with her. According to Ning Shu's understanding of the domineering CEO, he was quite capable. Old Master Chu couldn't wait for his grandson to come back tonight. Chu Tianfeng and Wen Ge both said they didn't want each other, but their bodies were honest. One felt humiliated, but had to cater to a man. After all, love was born. One of them was extremely disdainful and kept saying that he was the one who bought it, but he was very fierce and wanted to taste it after tasting it. When old Master Chu heard Ning Shu's words, his face became even uglier. Ning Shu said, "Young Ning, do you know something? You're an elder. You're more mature than Tianfeng. You should take care of him and remind him not to make any mistakes. Although the Chu family is big, a 1,000-mile dike can be destroyed by an anthole. We can't let Tianfeng do whatever he wants." When old Master Chu said this, he was actually treating his only grandson as his successor. However, with the existence of Chu Yongning or Ning Shu, Chu Tianfeng was full of hostility towards Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded. Old Master Chu stared at Ning Shu. "Then tell me, where is Tianfeng now?" Ning Shu shook his head. "I don't know. Tianfeng is already an adult. He has his own house outside. It's not a big deal if he doesn't come home occasionally." Ning Shu wanted to say that old Master Chu might be able to have a grandson soon. However, old Master Chu was old and couldn't take the shock. Regardless of whether it was shock or surprise, he tried to minimize his emotional fluctuations as much as possible. Grandpa Sheng pointed at Ning Shu with his walking stick. "All you know is to be dumb and blind. Don't forget that you're also a part of this family. If someone does something wrong, you have to stop it immediately." Ning Shu felt a little guilty and said, "I know, Dad. Let's go to bed early. Tianfen should be back tomorrow morning. Let's talk about it tomorrow." The old man was old and couldn't stay up late. After hearing Ning Shu's words, he stood up with his crutches. He couldn't straighten his back, so Ning Shu helped him stand up. He was escorted to his room. When Ning Shu was about to leave the room, Grandpa Ning stopped him. "Young Ning, I'm getting on in years. I'll be handing the family over to you and Tianfeng. I know Tianfeng doesn't like it, but you have to give him some advice." Ning Shu pondered for a moment and said, "Father, if I were here, I would definitely take good care of the Chu clan." Anyway, he didn't know how long he would be in this world. It was fine if he used his identity as a member of the Chu clan as a cover. At least he could use his identity to take care of the Chu clan. Ning Shu couldn't help but ask, "Father, don't you have other sons? Even if they're from a mistress?" He didn't know why those bossy CEOs didn't go bankrupt. They didn't have to do anything. Maybe there was a professional manager helping to take care of the Chu clan. They didn't have to do anything and they could get paid. However, Ning Shu didn't know how long he could take care of the Chu clan. Grandpa Chu said, "Get lost." Sure enough, Chu Tianfeng came back the next day. He came back early. Ning Shu tidied himself up and looked at his handsome self in the mirror. He was so fucking handsome. Ning Shu went downstairs and saw Chu Tianfeng's glowing face. Before Grandpa Chu got up, he asked Chu Tianfeng, "Does it feel great to be a groom?" "Great?" The faint smile on his face really made people feel like they were fucking in a bad mood. He really didn't know where the son of a mistress got his sense of superiority from. Dirty blood flowed in his body. Grandpa Chu got up and came downstairs. When he saw Chu Tianfeng, he asked, "Why didn't you come home last night?" "Working overtime at the company," Chu Tianfeng said casually. "Working overtime? Didn't your chin get sore early in the morning? Why did you have to work overtime with a woman?" Grandpa Chu said angrily. Chu Tianfeng immediately looked at Ning Shu. "Despicable person." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. What did he say? Ning Shu said to Grandpa Chu, "Father, Tianfeng bought a woman at the auction house for 100 billion yesterday. He was probably with that woman last night." He couldn't bear this accusation for nothing. Chu Tianfeng glared at Ning Shu. He didn't expect Ning Shu to complain in front of him. Although Grandpa Chu already knew about it, he still had a heart attack when he heard 100 billion. 100 billion. This grandson of his was really generous. Chu Tianfeng glared at Ning Shu and said in disgust, "Despicable person." Ning Shu chuckled. "You were the one who said you didn't want my hypocrisy." Chu Tianfeng, "You did something wrong but you still have the right to say it. You did it but you don't let people talk about it. You really disappoint me." Grandpa Chu leaned on his walking stick and said with pain in his heart. Chu Tianfeng was already a man in his 20s. Being scolded by his grandfather and questioned his ability in front of the son of a mistress was very embarrassing. "Grandpa, it's not like our family is short of money. If we don't have enough money, we can't afford to eat or pay the utility bills. Earning money is to spend money. Money that isn't spent is not money at all. Don't talk about the virtues of simplicity. Grandpa, the things you use are all simple. Which one of the things in this house is simple? You still have the right to say it?" Grandpa Chu was so angry that his heart hurt. "You spent so much money on a woman." Chu Tianfeng said, "It's not about whether it's worth it or not. If I think it's worth it, it's worth it. If I don't think it's worth it, it's not worth it. So, Grandpa, it's not a big deal. You don't have to criticize me like this." Grandpa Chu widened his eyes and couldn't say anything to refute. He couldn't refute. In Grandpa Chu's heart, it was nothing more than spending so much money on a woman. He felt that it was not worth it and that it was a loss. As a businessman, Grandpa Chu felt like there was a fishbone in his throat. Who knew if this woman was safe or not? Grandpa Chu didn't want his grandson to fail in the field of women. A woman that can be auctioned off like an item, what kind of woman can you be? Grandpa Chu was angered by his grandson's rebellion. Was he going to disobey him for a woman? Ning Shu chewed on his sandwich and looked at the confrontation between the grandfather and grandson. He didn't interrupt. In this situation, it was not his place to interrupt. It seemed that Grandpa Chu didn't have a good impression of Wengu. If these two wanted to have a good relationship, they had to go through Grandpa Chu first. Grandpa Chu was a worldly man and probably wouldn't agree. Chapter 34-25. A bad impression was only for a moment, but it was very difficult to reverse the image and change a person's inherent impression of another person. The road of love was really bumpy. Ning Shu shook his head. He just took 2 bites of the sandwich and put it down. After all, he was a soul body, he didn't need to eat. Unprocessed food was uncomfortable to eat. Ning Shu really couldn't see that this world was going to evolve. Does it look like an ordinary modern society? What direction was it going to develop in? Without spiritual energy, It was impossible to become a world of immortal cultivation. Ning Shu felt that it was better to give up on this world. Then, should it develop in other directions? The technology of this world was just SOSO. It couldn't be that technology would advance by leaps and bounds and enter the ranks of super technology. Ning Shu felt that he seemed to have been sent to the wrong world. This world didn't look like it was going to evolve. It seemed that he could only find clues from the male and female leads. But Ning Shu could already imagine the next plot. It was just a transaction of love. What was so special about it? Because he suffered in the hands of Ning Shu in the morning, after going to work, Chu Tianfeng tried his best to find trouble with Ning Shu. One moment, there was a problem, and the next moment, there was a problem. Ning Shu was too lazy to pay attention to him and pretended not to hear it. After work, Ning Shu changed to another car and followed behind Chu Tianfeng. She wanted to see where Chu Tianfeng had hidden Wengu in his golden house. Sure enough, Chu Tianfeng put Wengu in a villa under his name. This villa was next to the sea. When he opened the window, he could see the ebb and flow of the tide. Ning Shu didn't get close to the villa. He just scanned it with his spiritual energy and saw the situation of the witch clearly. He was really direct. He did it in the daytime. As soon as Chu Tianfeng entered the room, he began to unbuckle his belt and then pressed Wengu under his body. Simple and rough. Wengu gritted her teeth and endured it. Tears were in her eyes. She was very resistant. She was never treated gently. Ning Shu propped up her head. She wondered if Chu Tianfeng liked to force himself on her. Since he had spent money, he should enjoy it. At the same time, he could make the girl feel more comfortable. Wasn't this a good thing? If he didn't like Wengu, he shouldn't have bought it. Was this inexplicable disgust really a lunatic? Chu Tianfeng was probably conflicted as well. Ning Shu felt that he was going to grow a needle in his eye. He withdrew his spiritual force and drove away. Every day, Chu Tianfeng would come over and play for a while before leaving. Coming here once a day, Ning Shu felt that Chu Tianfeng's ability was really good. Once a day, aren't you afraid that your body will be emptied? This was totally an H-plot. Ning Shu had lost interest in it after watching it too much. Looks like I won't be able to peek into this world's evolution for the time being. As for these people coming and going, he couldn't care less. Wengu didn't have any freedom at all. She could only move around in the villa. She couldn't even step out of the villa. There was a nanny taking care of Wengu. Wengu tried to leave several times but was punished by Chu Tianfeng. Wengu cried and explained that she wanted to go to the hospital to visit her brother. Her brother was sick and needed medical fees urgently. There were several times when Wengu wanted to ask for money in bed, but her strong self-esteem prevented her from doing so. It wasn't until the hospital called to urge her to pay that Wengu endured the humiliation and spoke. Chu Tianfeng didn't say anything and just threw her a check. Wengu felt even more embarrassed when he looked at her as if she was a beggar. She knew that it was for money, but she still couldn't stand it and hated herself. When Ning Shu was about to drive away, Wengu suddenly rushed to the side of the car. Her body brushed against the car and she fell to the ground. Ning Shu felt like there was a ghost. Suddenly, Wengu sprained her ankle and her body tilted to the side of her car. Should she get out of the car? Of course not. She was so handsome and rich. She was also someone that Chu Tianfeng disliked. If she got involved with Wengu, she didn't want to become an idiot. It wouldn't be good if she became a catalyst for their relationship. Wen Ji's sprain looked a little serious. She had already gotten up, but she still fell to the ground. She looked like she was in pain. It was time to test Ning Shu's conscience. Should he get out of the car or leave her alone? Oh no. Was she going to be an idiot? She couldn't snatch her nephew's woman. Moreover, Ning Shu touched her chest. Although it had shrunk, she was still a girl. Therefore, Ning Shu went against her conscience and ran away. Anyway, it wasn't a good thing to be involved with the female lead. Moreover, she wasn't the one who caused the accident. It was the female lead who bumped into her. What did it have to do with her? Wengu was speechless. Were people nowadays so immoral? She ran away after bumping into someone? However, Wengu didn't care about these things. Instead, she hurried to the hospital to pay. If she didn't pay, the hospital would stop her brother's medicine. Everyone said that her brother's kidney failure couldn't be cured, but her brother was her family. She was willing to do the mission for him. Wen-gu stayed outside for a long time. When she returned to the villa, she was punished by Chu Tianfeng again. Wen-gu was already injured. After being hit by a car, she felt very wronged when she saw Chu Tianfeng's cold face. Originally, she already had a good impression of Chu Tianfeng. Chu Tianfeng had bought her back from the humiliating auction house. Chu Tianfeng was handsome, and he was also rich. It coated his body in layers of light. Wen-gu felt wronged to be treated like this by the person she liked. Wen-gu was very conflicted. She wanted to leave. Every time she was treated by Chu Tianfeng, her heart would crack open. However, she couldn't bear to leave Chu Tianfeng. She stayed by Chu Tianfeng's side. Ning Shu slacked at work every day. She was bored. Facing Chu Tianfeng's nitpicking, Ning Shu didn't care at all. She could receive ambiguous looks from her female colleagues. There were also ladies who wanted to flirt with her. So many young ladies flirted with her. It was great. She was intoxicated in the land of tenderness. No, she was investigating the evolution of the plane. She didn't know if it was Ning Shu's illusion. She felt that she would always run into Wen-gu. Even in the company, she would run into Wen-gu in the elevator. Wen-gu didn't stay in the villa and wait for Chu Tianfeng. Instead, she came to the company. When Wen-gu saw Ning Shu, she moved to the side of the elevator and distanced herself from Ning Shu. However, the elevator shook. Wen-ji's body leaned towards Ning Shu and fell into Ning Shu's arms. Ning Shu was speechless. The bracelet on Wen-ji's wrist was placed in front of Ning Shu's chest. It hurt a little. Ning Shu felt a faint spirit aura. Before he could sense it carefully, the elevator shook as if it was peeing. Then the door opened. Chu Tianfeng stood at the door, looking cold. Chapter 34-26. Chu Tianfeng saw the two of them hugging each other in the elevator. Ning Shu raised his hands. Would you believe me if I said it was an accident? You have to believe me. I only have you in my heart. Chu Tianfeng and Wen-gu were a bit confused when Ning Shu said that to Chu Tianfeng. Wen-gu was anxious. She wanted to explain, but when she heard what the man said, she was speechless. Chu Tianfeng's face was very dark. He turned around and left without a word. Wen-gu quickly chased after him to explain. Ning Shu shrugged. See, she had indeed become the catalyst. Chu Tianfeng yelled at Wen-gu and she ran out of the company with tears in her eyes. Ning Shu clicked his tongue and put his legs on the desk. Chu Tianfeng burst into the room and saw Ning Shu's unrestrained behavior. He was so pissed that he wanted to die. Seeing the son of his mistress made him angry. Did he have a pretty face? He was quite good at seducing women. Ning Shu smiled at Chu Tianfeng and threw him a look. Nephew, why are you looking for uncle? Chu Yongning, I advise you not to fight with me for everything. Do you want him to know your face? Chu Tianfeng said coldly. Ning Shu smiled faintly. Nephew, you don't think I'm going to steal your woman, do you? Nephew, I'm really not interested in her. But the elevator just shook. Do you believe me? Ning Shu said with a wink. Chu Tianfeng sneered. Grandpa can be fooled by your unrestrained and indifferent look, but I won't believe it. Are you going to steal everything that belongs to me? Chu family, woman. Ning Shu was speechless. Is this guy suffering from paranoia? She was so harmless. How could he say that she wanted to steal money and people? The world had such a deep misunderstanding of her. Sigh. Chu Yongning, as long as I'm here, I won't let you get what you want. You're so ambitious. Chu Tianfeng warned Ning Shu. You'd better not play tricks, or the Chu family will have no place. Ning Shu didn't care. Whatever. Chu Tianfeng felt that this Chu Yongning was very scheming. He acted as if he didn't care about anything. Acting like this could confuse his grandfather, but it definitely couldn't confuse him. Ning Shu didn't know what Chu Tianfeng was imagining, but he didn't really care. The world of you rich people is too inflationary. Banknotes are like hell money and toilet paper. Hundreds of billions can be easily found. It's too terrifying. As long as there was something to eat in this world, it would be fine. For the sake of the Chu family, Ning Shu was willing to tolerate Chu Tianfeng. If he couldn't stay in the Chu clan any longer, he would leave. Yes, I need to earn more money. I don't know when I can leave this world. Actually, it didn't matter if she didn't have money. She didn't eat or drink, so it didn't matter. Ning Shu had been avoiding Wengu before, but since the last time they met in the elevator, Ning Shu felt that Wenji's body had spiritual energy. In this modern society where spiritual energy was exhausted, it was very difficult for a person to carry spiritual energy. He wasn't a cultivator, but he had spiritual energy? Did he want to get close to Wengu? Originally, Chu Tianfeng thought that he was going to steal his woman. Did he think that as long as it was Chu Tianfeng's, she would fight for it? If he got close to Wengu again, Ning Shu felt that Wengu might be tortured to death by Chu Tianfeng. Generally speaking, when Chu Tianfeng was jealous, he might torture Wengu more in bed. This was really a heinous crime. If they really met secretly, it would be even more difficult to explain if they bumped into each other. Oh, it seemed that the breakthrough point was Wengu. Chu Tianfeng saw that Ning Shu was absent-minded and his eyes were empty. He knew that he didn't take his warning seriously at all. Chu Yongning, I'm warning you for the last time. Stay away from my woman. Chu Tianfeng said fiercely. Obviously, the scene in the elevator irritated Chu Tianfeng and made him particularly unhappy. He was unhappy with Ning Shu and Wengu. After taking his money, she actually got together with another man. Was the money not enough? Did she have to find another man to sell her? Ning Shu picked his ear. All right, nephew. Uncle isn't old yet. I can hear everything you say. I think that since you like her, you should bring her home and let the old master have a look. I don't like her. I bought her with my money. She's just a toy. When I get tired of her, I'll throw her away. There's no need to bring her back to meet the old master. I don't allow anyone to touch my things. I don't like other people's aura on my things. Ning Shu clicked his tongue. You're a Chunibyu. Ning Shu brushed the loose hair on his forehead. If you hadn't warned me, I might not have felt anything. That's how people are. The more you don't let me do something, the more I want to do it. You've successfully attracted my attention by warning me so seriously. Chu Tianfeng. This person was probably a lunatic. He was quite good at pretending to be crazy. But he got a message from his words. He was still going to harass Wengu. He was unhappy. If you dare to go and find Wengu, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. Ning Shu suddenly realized. Her name is Wengu. Chu Tianfeng felt that he could not communicate with this man. He snorted coldly, slammed the door and left. Ning Shu glanced at the door. He did not want to argue with this arrogancio. Chu Tianfeng thought of him as an imaginary enemy. He always felt that he was going to steal his money and his woman. Ning Shu took the opportunity to visit Wengu when Chu Tianfeng was not in the villa. When he opened the door, Wengu did not dare to open it completely. She only opened it a little and an eye popped out. Why are you looking for me? Wengu had already recognized that this was the man in the elevator. If Chu Tianfeng knew about this, the misunderstanding would be even deeper. Ning Shu said, I'm Chu Tianfeng's uncle. I'm here for you. Uncle? Wengu was a bit suspicious, but Ning Shu directly squeezed in. Ning Shu looked around the house. It was well decorated and very warm. It was full of the smell of home. Wengu asked, Are you really his uncle? They looked the same age. How could there be a difference in seniority? We inherited the father's genes. The father's genes are the same. Wengu. Okay, she believed him for now. Wengu poured a glass of water for Ning Shu. Ning Shu's attention was on Wenji's wrist. There was a bracelet on her wrist. The jade of the bracelet was not very good. There were some black spots. As soon as Wengu approached, Ning Shu felt a faint reiki. Well, Wengu was so cute. She was tortured by Chu Tianfeng for no reason. Her body could bear it. It was probably because of this little bit of reiki. Wengu took back her wrist that Ning Shu was staring at. She put her hand behind her back and asked nervously, Why are you looking for me? He was Chu Tianfeng's relative. Wengu felt like she was meeting a parent. Chapter 34:27. Wengu actually knew that it was an extravagant hope to be with Chu Tianfeng. She was just an item that Chu Tianfeng had bought. However, there was still a little hope in her heart. Therefore, facing Chu Tianfeng's uncle, Wengu was very nervous and tried her best to show a good side. Ning Shu looked Wengu up and down. Under her clothes was a mottled body with some ambiguous marks on it. It was summer and Wengu was wearing long sleeves. Fortunately, there was air conditioning in the house. Otherwise, she would have died from the heat. Ning Shu used his spiritual power to scan Wenji's body. In fact, he wanted to scan the bracelet on Wenji's wrist. This was the only piece of jewelry on Wengu. Other than that, Ning Shu could not think of any other source of spiritual qi on Wengu. It was impossible for her to have spiritual qi because when the soul jumped into the reincarnation pool, everything was cleaned. It was as unreliable as a person being born with body fragrance. People ate grains and produced all kinds of waste gas in the body. It was basically impossible for her to have a body fragrance. Therefore, Wenji's bracelet released a thin amount of spiritual qi. This meant that the bracelet might be a treasure. Ning Shu's spiritual power was reflected by the bracelet. Ordinary jade did not have such an ability. It seemed that Wenji's bracelet was something good. Ning Shu was a little curious. "Uncle, have some tea." Wengu noticed that Ning Shu was staring at her. The other party was a young man after all. Staring at her like that, it made her hair stand on end. Ning Shu looked at her wrist and said, "The bracelet on your wrist is good. Can I see it?" Wengu covered the bracelet with her hand and said, "The jade is not transparent. It's not a good jade. Grandma left it to me. I think it's pretty good. Can I see it? You don't have to take it off. I'll just take a look." Ning Shu felt that he was a little wretched when he said this. "I'll just stay outside and not go in." Wengu hesitated for a moment and reached out her hand. Ning Shu touched the bracelet. It was no different from an ordinary bracelet. Treasures concealed themselves. Some treasures knew how to conceal their own brilliance. "What are you doing?" A low voice sounded from the door. Ning Shu turned around and saw Chu Tianfeng standing at the door, his face glowing green. Adulterous couple. Chu Tianfeng was about to explode from anger. Wengu was so scared that she immediately retracted her hand and said, "It's not like that. It's not what you think. Listen to me." Ning Shu felt poisoned. Why was it that whenever she and Wengu were doing something, Chu Tianfeng would always bump into them and misunderstand them as being intimate? Seeing that Wengu kept saying that she wanted to explain but couldn't, Ning Shu felt a little annoyed. Wengu finally said, "Your uncle wants to see the bracelet on my wrist. It's true. Believe me." Chu Tianfeng's expression brightened. "Are you playing a monkey? A bracelet?" Chu Tianfeng sneered at Ning Shu. "My uncle has seen all kinds of bracelets, yet he insists on looking at the bracelet in your hand." Ning Shu clicked her tongue. Seriously, why was it that no one believed her when she told the truth, but when she lied, they immediately believed her? She had taken advantage of the fact that Chu Tianfeng had gone to meet a client and wouldn't be back for a while to find Wengu. In the end, Chu Tianfeng came back so quickly. Seriously, why did he have to fool her? Wengu was so anxious that she was about to cry. "He really just wants to see my bracelet. There's nothing between us. We're really innocent." Chu Tianfeng sneered. Looking at the bracelet was just an excuse. His real goal was to flirt with his woman. Chu Yongning had lived in the Chu family and had seen all kinds of things. Branded jewelry, custom-made products, luxury cars, and famous wines. Why would he care about a bracelet? It was just because the person wearing the bracelet wasn't simple. Ning Shu felt that the atmosphere was very strange. At this time, no matter what she said, Chu Tianfeng would probably twist it. So no matter what she did now, it would only add fuel to the fire. Ning Shu took a sip of tea and said, "Then you guys continue chatting. I'm leaving." Wengu was about to cry. She hurriedly said to Ning Shu, "Uncle, don't go. You have to explain clearly." Ning Shu shrugged. "What's there to explain? My nephew doesn't believe anything I say. He thinks there's something between us." Ning Shu was about to leave. Chu Tianfeng stood in front of Ning Shu. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and looked at him. What are you doing? Do you need me to stay? Chu Tianfeng took a deep breath and looked at Ning Shu with disgust. You can come and go as you please in my place. Uncle. Chu Tianfeng gritted his teeth when he called Chu Tianfeng uncle. Ning Shu said, Nephew, actually, I like men. So, women are not attractive to me. Ning Shu lifted Chu Tianfeng's chin. If it were you, I might be tempted. Women are not as resolute as men. Ha! Chu Tianfeng waved away Ning Shu's hand. He was a little disgusted by Ning Shu. Chu Yongning, stop pretending to be crazy. Don't confuse people. Men and men. It was too disgusting. Men were not as soft and gentle as women. So disgusting. He must be pretending to be like this on purpose. Ning Shu sighed. Why is it that no one believes me when I tell the truth? Wen Ge saw this scene and felt an indescribable embarrassment. Two men, tall and straight, dressed in suits. Wen Ge didn't know why, but she felt something strange rising in her heart. It was a feeling of restlessness. Ning Shu smiled and walked away. Ning Shu used his mental strength to check the situation in the room. Great, they were together again. Chu Tianfeng was totally torturing Wen Ge. What kind of men were these? It wasn't easy to earn this money. After a long time, people became numb. They became masochistic and developed true love. Ning Shu's attention was on Wen Ji's bracelet. This bracelet clearly had spiritual energy. If Chu Tianfeng hadn't suddenly appeared to catch them in the act, no, he suddenly came back to life and ruined her plan. There hadn't been any progress in this world until now. Ning Shu went home. He lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling, thinking about when he could leave this world. In the end, his vision blurred and he found himself sitting in the car again. Ning Shu was speechless. I'm fucking at home. Why am I sitting in the car? This scene was a little familiar. When he first came to this world, didn't he sit in the car? Ning Shu felt a little uneasy. What was going on? Time was going backwards. Ning Shu returned to the villa. Sure enough, Old Master gave him a warm welcome, welcoming Ning Shu back to the country. Ning Shu was speechless. I just lay on the bed for a while. Chapter 34:28. Why did time suddenly flow backward? Ning Shu looked at his hand. When did he become so good at comprehending the law of time? On the phone, forget it. She didn't even absorb the crystal that the Cheongsam man gave her. She didn't even enter the door of the law of time. How could there be so much energy? So, something must have happened in this world? Usually, when time flowed backward, someone would be reborn. Who was reborn? Ning Shu felt that doing this kind of task was really tiring. There was a commission and a goal to complete. There was no goal. It was like a headless fly flying around randomly. That also meant that Wen Ge wasn't going to be auctioned yet. Ning Shu felt that he should find Wen Ge first. Wen Ji's brother was sick. Wen Ge had no choice but to auction herself. If she found Wen Ge first, it would be easy. Ning Shu checked the cases of various hospitals and found the hospital where Wen Ji's brother was. Wen Ji's brother was young, only 15 or 16 years old. Because of his illness, he was very thin and pale. Wen Ge was feeding her brother and wiping his mouth carefully. Don't be afraid. With sister here, this won't be a problem. Sister, I'm scared. Don't be afraid. With sister here, sister won't let you be wronged. I won't let myself be wronged. Wen Ji's face showed the vicissitudes of life. Ning Shu stood at the door of the ward and saw that the bracelet on her wrist had turned snow white. It was a little green before and the jade color wasn't very good. But now it was white and shining. Wen Ge came out of the ward and saw Ning Shu. Her expression changed drastically. Then she pretended not to know him. Since her rebirth, she suddenly met someone related to Chu Tianfeng. She panicked. Ning Shu smiled. You know me from your expression. It's like you saw a ghost. Wen Ge quickly shook her head. I don't know. Ning Shu looked at the bracelet on her hand and said, Your bracelet is not bad. Do you want to sell it? Wen Ge put her hands behind her back. In her previous life, Chu Yongning was also interested in this bracelet. She also died because of this bracelet. But when Chu Yongning came, Chu Tianfeng was very angry. He tossed and turned for a long time. When he was taking a bath, he directly fell into the bathtub. At that time, the bracelet had absorbed her blood. When she opened her eyes again, she seemed to have returned to the past. Wengu didn't want to have anything to do with Chu Tianfeng at this time. She didn't want to have anything to do with Chu Tianfeng. He had hurt her enough. Wengu said directly, "I'm not selling it. This is something my family left me." "Sir, is there anything else?" Wengu said coldly to Ning Shu. "Ning Shu, don't you look like you need money? Sell me this bracelet." Wengu sneered in her heart. In her previous life, she had been hurt by Chu Tianfeng's heartbreak for money, but not in this life, because her hands already had a lot of things. The bracelet was filled with white and plump things. It was filled with ginseng and other precious things. Any of these items would be enough to pay for her brother's medical bills. And the most important thing was that there was a pool in the bracelet. This pool was filled with an unknown power that could make the herbs inside grow better. She used this water to water the herbs so that they would grow better. This kind of water was also very delicious to drink. It was very refreshing to drink it. Because of this bracelet, Wengu saw hope. Her life could be turned around, and she wouldn't be as helpless as in her previous life. Ning Shu used his mental strength, but it was still reflected by the bracelet. Generally, things like bracelets were mostly a space with a lot of things inside. Ning Shu guessed that Wengu probably wouldn't go to the auction house to sell herself this time. In fact, this was also a good thing. Chu Tianfeng was crazy. It was too hard to love her. "I won't sell this thing," Wengu said again. In her previous life, she had pinned all her hopes on Chu Tianfeng. In this life, she didn't want to rely on Chu Tianfeng anymore. Ning Shu looked at Wengu, who had turned over a new leaf, and felt confident. He didn't know what would happen between her and Chu Tianfeng this time. There was no result before, and it would be even more fruitless if they did it again. It was obviously a domineering president who loved her, but it turned into a rebirth? Ning Shu wanted to facepalm. This world was probably playing with her. How was this world going to develop? Was it the road to Wenji's rise? She used to be a little white rabbit, but now she was going to become a domineering flower, a domineering queen. Ning Shu walked towards Wengu. Wengu immediately stepped back and looked at Ning Shu warily. She tightly clutched the bracelet on her wrist. "Don't come over, I'm going to call for help." Ning Shu said, "I really like the bracelet on your wrist. Consider selling it to me." "I'm not selling it," Wengu said firmly. Why was he so good to her bracelet? It was like this in her previous life, and it was also like this in this life. Did Chu Yongning see something? Ning Shu could only say regretfully, "Okay, a gentleman doesn't take what others like." The thing had to be in Wenji's hands for the plot to develop. So Ning Shu wouldn't snatch it. Moreover, this thing seemed to have recognized its owner. No one else could use it. He didn't know what was in this space. It seemed that he had to pay more attention to Wengu. Ning Shu gave Wengu a business card. "When you decide to sell the bracelet, consider me first." Wengu took the business card and put it in her pocket. She would never sell it. And he was Chu Tianfeng's uncle. Now when she thought of Chu Tianfeng, her heart was numb. Ning Shu looked into the ward. "What's your brother's illness? Do you have enough money?" Wengu said warily, "I have enough money." One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. "Oh," Ning Shu replied and left the hospital. Wengu directly threw the business card into the trash can. She felt that her brother was not safe in this hospital. The Chu family was a ticking time bomb. She didn't want to have anything to do with the Chu family in this life. Wengu hurriedly transferred her brother to another hospital. Ning Shu just smiled when he heard it. He avoided the Chu family like they were snakes and scorpions. It seemed that he really didn't want to have anything to do with the Chu family. Ning Shu looked at Chu Tianfeng with a smile. His little wife was gone. Chu Tianfeng's face was cold. Seeing Ning Shu smiling at him, her smile was mixed with many meanings, making Chu Tianfeng very unhappy. "What are you smiling at? What are you thinking in your mind?" Chu Tianfeng said coldly. Ning Shu sighed and said, "Sigh, nephew, there are always many mistakes in life. If you miss it, then you miss it." Chu Tianfeng was speechless. Crazy. Ning Shu agreed that Wengu shouldn't be with Chu Tianfeng. If it wasn't for money, he wouldn't have tolerated it. Now that he didn't need money and the problem of money was solved, it would be meaningless to be entangled with Chu Tianfeng. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 3429. Wengu had transferred her brother to another hospital. Moreover, the hospital was still very far away from this city. It was in another city. Now that Wengu didn't sell herself, the plot couldn't continue. If that bracelet was a powerful space, could it be able to store things? Ning Shu paid attention to Wengu. Wengu sold a lot of rare medicinal herbs, all of which were tender and looked at least 100 years old. And there was some spiritual energy around them. Ning Shu touched his chin and looked at the medicinal herbs he bought. These medicinal herbs with some spiritual energy looked so good. They probably only grew in the deep mountains and forests. Artificial things didn't look so good. Ning Shu put the ginseng in a box and gave it to old Master Chu. Ning Shu spent hundreds of thousands on this ginseng. Just this ginseng was so expensive. It seemed that Wengu really didn't lack money. A ginseng cost hundreds of thousands. Wengu couldn't possibly only have one ginseng. Not only did she sell her life, but she also sold lingji mushrooms and cordyceps. In short, she sold whatever was expensive. These medicinal herbs contained spiritual energy, which meant that there was a spiritual energy source in the bracelet. He didn't know if this bracelet was a spiritual weapon or natural. Naturally, it wasn't possible. After all, it was polished into a bracelet. How could it become a bracelet naturally? It was probably artificially made. Yes, this bracelet seemed to be a bug. Because this bracelet couldn't be made by ordinary people. Could it be that some people left it in this world by chance? Old Master Chu was very happy to receive Ning Shu's gift. When people were old, they liked things that could let them live longer. Ginseng was really a good thing. Chu Tianfeng saw Ning Shu's flattery and sneered. His sneer immediately attracted old Master Chu's dissatisfaction. What are you laughing at? I haven't said anything yet. You spent so much money to buy a woman and you still have a reason. Ning Shu snorted and asked, You bought again? Again? Old Master Chu caught the word in Ning Shu's words. You bought 2 women? You. Old Master Chu's eyes were about to pop out. 2? Old Master Chu's expression became a little strange. You also want to play this kind of game like those playboys? Ning Shu was almost amused by old Master Chu's words. Chu Tianfeng's face turned red and purple at the same time. There aren't 2, just 1. Not even 1, the old man said coldly. Ning Shu was puzzled. Why was Wengu being auctioned again? Hadn't she already left the city? Wengu, who had the bracelet, was already rich enough to pay for her brother's medical expenses. Why would she still auction it? Unless there was something wrong with Wenji's brain, it was true love. Ning Shu pondered as he looked at Chu Tianfeng. Wenji's plot had already changed, but Chu Tianfeng was still in the plot. He bought another woman. This woman could be another woman, not Wengu, but it could also be Wengu. After all, love made people blind. However, Wengu already had money. Even if she wanted to continue her relationship with Chu Tianfeng, she could appear in front of Chu Tianfeng as an equal instead of a business relationship. Wenji's brain must have been filled with acid to appear in front of Chu Tianfeng in such a way. Moreover, Wengu seemed to be a very prideful person. How could she do that? It was most likely that the woman who was bought was no longer Wengu. Ning Shu clicked his tongue and looked at Chu Tianfeng. Was this really true love? Was Chu Tianfeng setting to fall in love with the woman he bought, regardless of whether the woman was Wengu, Li Gu, or XXX Gu? Then Chu Tianfeng was a little sad. After clearing his doubts, Ning Shu came to the place where Chu Tianfeng hid his mistress. It was still the same villa. There was still a canary here. The only difference was that this golden one was different from the previous one. Chu Tianfeng seemed to really like pitiful and pure girls. This girl's style was very similar to Wenji's. A pure white lotus that grew out of the mud. A girl who looked clean and pure. This was probably the taste of most men. Ning Shu didn't get close to this girl. After all, this girl had nothing to do with him. Chu Tianfeng was with this woman and was living a happy life. Did that mean he had no chance with Wengu? Or was this girl the second female lead, an obstacle to Chu Tianfeng and Wengu being together? Ning Shu felt that if he were Wengu, he would probably be disgusted to death. In his previous life, he was bought and developed special feelings for Chu Tianfeng. In this life, Chu Tianfeng bought another woman. Wengu knew about the past. Ning Shu felt that Chu Tianfeng had probably been kicked out of the male leads list. He was so immoral. It was okay to have sex with the female lead, but not with other women. But maybe Chu Tianfeng was just venting. After Wengu appeared, Chu Tianfeng knew how to love? Ning Shu shivered. Why did he feel so disgusted? TSK, Ning Shu didn't look at the scene. He knew that Wengu was now in the next city and was living a good life. Her brother could also get the best treatment. She also got the favor of many men. Ning Shu felt more and more that Chu Tianfeng was probably the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th or 8th male lead. Ning Shu had lost all hope in this world. So, what was the evolution of this world? Could it be better? It was originally a good plot of a domineering CEO's wife. Why was it suddenly reborn? Then the female lead woke up and abandoned the scumbag of the past. Ning Shu felt that Chu Tianfeng was probably a scumbag now. If Wengu knew that Chu Tianfeng had sold another woman, she would probably feel sick of it. She would think that he bought her because he had special feelings for her. The result would be the same no matter who it was. Ning Shu didn't care about Chu Tianfeng anymore. Instead, he used work as an excuse to transfer to the branch in the city where Wengu was. Since Chu Tianfeng didn't care, she focused on observing the target. Anyway, when she was with Chu Tianfeng, he always looked at her as if she was a bad person and he had seen through her. Although Ning Shu said that she wouldn't argue with him, she didn't feel good staying with him. She might as well leave. Old Master Chu didn't look well. He seemed to be sick. When he heard Ning Shu say that she was leaving, he said weakly, "Why are you leaving so soon? Stay at home." Chu Tianfeng hoped that this bastard would leave as far as possible. But his grandfather looked very weak now, so he didn't talk back. Ning Shu asked, "Dad, what's wrong with your body? You don't look well." Old Master Chu waved his hand. "It's just a common cold. It's nothing serious." Chapter 34:30. The family doctor has already seen me and prescribed some medicine. It won't take long for me to recover. No, it will take a long time for me to recover. My parents aren't traveling far. I'm sick and you're leaving home. Old Master Chu pretended to be pitiful. Chu Tianfeng glanced at Ning Shu and said to Old Master Chu, "Dad, Uncle is going to work. It's not like he won't come back. You can call him. He'll be back soon." Ning Shu discreetly took Old Master Chu's pulse. His symptoms were indeed that of a cold. However, Old Master Chu was old. A cold was not a small challenge for him. Ning Shu said, "Then I'll wait until you're better." He didn't lack time. "That's right. You're still young. You have a lot of days ahead of you. I'm old. I don't know when I'll pass away. So you should spend more time with me." Chu Tian said unhappily, "Grandpa, why are you saying this? You're in good health." Old Master Chu only had a common cold. However, it didn't get better at all. Instead, it got worse. Medicine didn't work. His body temperature fluctuated and he had a fever. At this time, the family doctor was useless. They could only send him to the hospital. The uncle and nephew sent Old Master Chu to the hospital together. However, they found that the hospital was full of people. Coughing sounds came one after another. It seemed that they all had a cold. Flu? Of course, Old Master Chu didn't have to wait in line. He went directly to the specialist and asked, "I've had a cold for half a month. Why don't I get better?" The specialist also said with a worried face, "There's been a large-scale outbreak of influenza recently. Ordinary medicine doesn't work at all. The symptoms of this disease start with a cold. It will get worse and worse. Finally, it will develop into a weakening of the internal organs. There's no way to stop the weakening of the body." Chu Tianfeng suddenly slammed the table. "What did you say? There's no way to treat it?" Chu Tianfeng asked. He only had one relative left now. His grandfather had always been full of vigor and vigor. Chu Tianfeng felt that his grandfather would accompany him for a long time. There's no solution for now. Weak old people and children are more likely to be infected. Old Master Chu is old and infected. Sigh, it was more or less a death sentence. Old Master Chu, on the other hand, was quite open-minded. Fortunately, I've lived for 70 to 80 years. Even if something happens to me, I'll still die of old age. It's not a loss at all. Ning Shu saw that old Master Chu's hands were trembling slightly on his thighs. How could there be no fluctuations in his heart? My grandfather must be cured. Otherwise, this hospital can forget about continuing to operate, Chu Tianfeng said fiercely. It was similar to the ancient emperors telling them that if they couldn't cure him, they would be buried with him. Old Master Chu said to his grandson, "Don't worry, the doctor will find a way." With so many patients, any doctor would be anxious. Ning Shu asked, "Did the disease mutate? Is that why it's so contagious? Was there a plague?" It was not easy for plagues to occur in modern society. After all, the medical conditions were much better and there were many medicines available. Even if it was an infectious disease, it would probably be resolved after a period of time. Old Master Chu was hospitalized. In the hospital, there were doctors and nurses taking care of Old Master Chu's condition at all times. If anything went wrong, they would be able to treat him in time. Because the elder was sick, Chu Tianfeng was not in the mood to look for canary. Instead, he stayed by Old Master Chu's side and worked remotely. Ning Shu also had nothing to do in the hospital. He found that the doctors and nurses were very busy every day, and more people were being sent to the hospital. The symptoms were the same. At first, it was a cold, then a recurring fever. There was no medicine to cure it. All the anti-inflammatory drugs and drips were useless. Then it was breathing difficulties, pain all over the body, and organ failure. Moreover, the cause of the disease could not be found, nor did they know what virus it was. This disease was aggressive. The media reported it every day. The country was also anxious and invested all kinds of funds to research and treat it. The doctors and nurses came into contact with these patients every day. Gradually, some of them were infected. This disease caused great panic and spread at an extremely fast speed. Ning Shu gave Old Master Chu acupuncture when he had nothing to do, but it was really useless. This was a little strange. Moreover, this disease could not be cured at all. More and more people died, causing great panic. It directly affected the stability and development of the whole society. Many companies and enterprises were on vacation, causing great economic losses. Although they were already researching medicine, how could they keep up with the speed of death? In this case, crimes were frequent, social order was completely out of control, and all walks of life were stagnant. Ning Shu, damn, what happened? Why was he like a wild dog? He was completely crazy. The Chu family was rich and could get the best treatment. If this continued, he would die sooner or later. Chu Tianfeng's face was very cold. He knew that the disease could not be cured. He was very unhappy and in pain. If he had nothing to do, he could only stay by Old Master Chu's side and accompany him for a while. Old Master Chu also understood that his body was dying. He said to Chu Tianfeng, "Tianfeng, don't always spend money. It's easy to start a business but hard to keep it. Don't always find trouble with your uncle. He's not the child of a mistress, nor is he my child. He's not a Chu family member. Everything in the Chu family will be handed over to you. Chu Yongning, can't you let him work for the company?" When Chu Tianfeng heard this, he said, "Grandpa, don't worry. I won't find trouble with him for no reason. But if he wants to plot against the Chu family, I won't let him off. You're right to do this. It's always right to be careful. In the future, when you want to manage the company, you have to be tolerant." Of course, Ning Shu knew what this grandfather and grandson were talking about. He did not care at all. All his thoughts were on this disease. This was the first time Ning Shu had seen such a powerful disease. The speed of infection was very fast, and the speed of illness was also very fast. In 2 months, people died. The speed of death was gradually increasing. If this continued, there would not be enough deaths. What kind of disease was so powerful? The evolution of this world really made Ning Shu very confused. But this disease should be related to evolution? In order to prevent the disease from spreading again, the people who died of the disease had to be cremated. There were many corpses being cremated every day. And many of them were children. Children and the elderly were the most important group of people to be infected. With children dying on such a large scale, the population would be greatly reduced. Now, the country was probably going crazy. They were racing against time to research medicine to deal with this disease. It's the fastest novel website. Chapter 34-31. The birth of a new disease would consume a lot of manpower and resources, but the current situation was very dangerous. Many people were dying every second. Read the latest chapters for free. By the time the medicine was developed, there wouldn't be many people left. The first to die would be the elderly and children, followed by the strong adults. Was the world going to be destroyed? But the heavens would always give them a chance to live. It was impossible to kill them all. Unless the heavens collapsed. Then where was the chance to live? After Wengu was reborn, something like this happened. Ning Shu thought of Wenji's bracelet. Perhaps the chance to live was in Wenji's bracelet. Because of the social turmoil, many factories had closed down. Without basic production, it meant that there was a shortage of supplies. Thus, all kinds of panic buying began. Everyone worked together and almost all the goods on the market were going to be sold out. They were crazily hoarding supplies. Wengu was no exception. Moreover, her bracelet had a large space that could store a supermarket's items. Because of the raging disease, Wengu didn't let her brother stay in the hospital. Now there were many patients with infectious diseases in the hospital. Her brother's body was weak and easy to get infected. Moreover, she often gave her brother some of the spiritual spring in the space, so his body gradually got better. She believed that he would recover soon. Wengu was very confident in the spiritual spring in the bracelet. Because of the infectious disease, the whole city was in a very decadent state. There were basically no people on the streets. No one cleaned the streets, and the leaves and sand were everywhere. From afar, it looked like a ghost town. Everyone stayed at home. They didn't go out unless it was necessary. Even if they went out, they would wear all kinds of equipment and would wear a spacesuit. Society came to a standstill. Wengu thought that it was fortunate that she had the bracelet. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to live. She didn't know if Chu Tianfeng was infected. What was she thinking about him for? Chu Tianfeng's life or death had nothing to do with her. Chu Tianfeng's health had always been good, and he was so rich that he paid attention to hygiene. The chances of him contracting this disease were very high. Moreover, it was usually the elderly and children who were infected. Right? Didn't Chu Tianfeng have a grandfather? Wengu patted her head. She told herself not to get involved with Chu Tianfeng. The Chu family had nothing to do with her. Chu Tianfeng never liked her. In this life, she was just a commodity. The drug hadn't been developed yet, but the situation was getting worse. Although the government had repeatedly said that the dead must be cremated, it was only safe when they were cremated and any viruses in the body could be incinerated. However, there were some corpses that couldn't be burned in time and would quickly rot. Sometimes, when a family member fell ill, they would be so scared that they would throw the body into the sea or bury it quickly. Soon, the virus spread among the animals. Animal carcasses were everywhere, increasing the infection rate. The government had to spend a lot of effort to get people to deal with the carcasses of these animals. Meat became inedible because no one knew if the poultry, pork, and beef had been infected or contaminated. In short, it was a mess. It would take a long time to cure this disease, but time waits for no one. Anyone who contracted this disease would be doomed without exception. Old Master Chu held on for a while, but he couldn't take it anymore and passed away. Chu Tianfeng couldn't take it anymore and almost destroyed the hospital. However, medical resources were especially tight at the moment. If it were any other time, Chu Tianfeng could bankrupt this hospital in a matter of minutes. That definitely wouldn't do. It would incur the wrath of the crowd. Everyone was being tortured by the disease, but he actually wanted to destroy the hospital. People in his family died, but other people's families didn't. Of course, Chu Tianfeng was also angry, but he really couldn't destroy the hospital. Old Master Chu's body was cremated. Probably because Old Master Chu told Chu Tianfeng about her, Chu Tianfeng didn't target Ning Shu anymore. Moreover, they were relatives in name, Chu Tianfeng's only family. Chu Tianfeng's attitude towards Ning Shu improved a little. Ning Shu asked, "What are your plans next?" "I'll follow what Dad said when he was still alive. I'll go to S City now." "Why are you going there?" "The branch there is closed." "It's useless even if you go there," Chu Tianfeng said with a frown. Money was really worthless now. What was valuable was resources. Because there was no production, there would be fewer and fewer resources in the market. Things that money couldn't buy were worthless. Of course, Ning Shu was going to find Wenge. She always felt that according to the current medical situation, there was a way to solve the current problem. Then it could only be metaphysics. Wen Ji's body had something beyond the knowledge of this world. Perhaps this thing might be a chance of survival. Ning Shu felt like she had been hit by a cactus. She also tried to gather the surrounding Reiki to treat the disease. She thought that since the bracelet had Reiki and could treat diseases, she could also gather Reiki, although there was pitifully little Reiki in this world. She tried it, but it didn't help Old Master Chu's disease at all. She felt that it was really biased. It was all Reiki, but why was her Reiki useless? So now she needed to find Wenge to verify something. Could it be that the evolution of this plane was to kill all living creatures and then start anew? That was unlikely, right? Even if they wanted to shuffle the cards, they had to have the cards. If they didn't even have the cards, how could they shuffle the cards? Ning Shu said, "I'm going to S City to look for someone." "Don't worry." "Who's worried about you? S City is a bit far from here. If you die on the way, you'll be fine. Don't spread the disease back." The environment outside was very bad. There was a stench in the air, the smell of rotting animal corpses. Because there were fewer trees, yellow sand was flying at this time. When they went out, their mouths were full of sand. It was no different from a ghost town. Now in the face of disaster, Chu Tianfeng also abandoned the little bit of unhappiness and awkwardness. He said to Ning Shu stiffly, "The safest thing now is to stay at home." There were no disinfectant products on the market. They were afraid that they would be infected if they didn't disinfect carefully. The air outside was no longer breathable. In the face of disaster, all living creatures were extremely fragile. It was not easy to build a harmonious and stable society. It was the efforts of all sides. But to destroy a harmonious and stable society, it could be done in minutes. Ning Shu felt awkward when she heard Chu Tianfeng's concern for her. Although Chu Tianfeng was as calm as a dog now, in fact, he was panicking. Now even the annoying Ning Shu felt that he could rely on him. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Chapter 34-32. Now, Chu Tianfeng was the only one left in the Chu family. All the responsibilities were on his shoulders. When Old Master Chu was still alive, he could still suppress those old foxes. Now that Old Master Chu was gone, Chu Tianfeng could only rely on himself. Yali Mountain was huge. Now Ning Shu was going to run away again. Although Chu Tianfeng didn't like him, he needed to be with him. And it wasn't safe outside at all. All kinds of crimes happened frequently. Without rules and sanctions, everything was a mess. The rules had collapsed. This was what the ancients called the collapse of etiquette and music. If he went out, he might be killed. Chu Tianfeng felt that no matter how much he didn't like Chu Yongning, he couldn't just watch him die. Ning Shu said, "I'll be careful. This disease probably won't be cured for a long time. You should prepare more supplies and fight a protracted war." Supplies and water would become very precious, especially clean water, which was extremely precious. But now the industrial pollution was quite serious. It was really difficult to have clean water. Then they would have to use equipment to filter and remove the dirt. But now the various power and water systems in the city were still maintained, but no one was taking care of them. In the end, sooner or later, even the water and water supply would not be enough. At that time, The government would have to intervene and gradually restore the social order. But as long as the epidemic was not solved, the panic would not disappear. Living in fear every day, they had no intention to produce and contribute to society. Now they were thinking about how to survive. As long as they could get supplies and water, it was fine. They didn't even need to pay. Ning Shu couldn't accompany Chu Tianfeng. And two men, no, a man and a woman alone, was not good. Ning Shu said to Chu Tianfeng, I have something to do, so you take care of yourself. Prepare more supplies. Money is not very useful now, but you still have to find a safe place to store it. When this is over, the Chu family can still make a comeback. Jewelry, gold, antiques, and so on were also wealth. When this incident was over, the Chu family also had capital. Do I need you to tell me? I know. Chu Tianfeng had told him before he died. He was already looking for a suitable place. Paper money was worthless now. Only gold and jewelry were hard currency. Fortunately, the Chu clan had a lot of gold in storage. Ning Shu shrugged and said, I'm just saying. I'm leaving. Ning Shu picked up the car keys. Because they were going on a long trip, Ning Shu drove an off-road jeep. He brought along enough tools to prevent the car from breaking down on the way. In a world without spiritual energy, it was useless to use the attracting curse technique. At the same time, he put a few barrels of oil in the trunk so that he could find a place to repair the car. Chu Tianfeng's face was cold as he carried 2 boxes of water and some toiletries. He threw them into Ning Shu's car and said, Bring some food so that you don't starve to death on the way. If you go out, don't come back. Especially if you're infected with the virus, don't come back. Ning Shu was a little speechless. Is it that hard to say that you're looking forward to my return? With Chu Tianfeng's personality, it was very easy for him to fall in love with her. Those who knew would be fine, but those who didn't would be hurt by your poisonous tongue. The most important thing is that he doesn't realize it himself. He thinks I'm really good to you. But when others heard it, they felt cold and piercing pain. Ning Shu got into the car, rolled down the window, and said to Chu Tianfeng, Don't die. Take care of yourself. Chu Tianfeng sneered. I won't die even if you die. Ning Shu tilted his head and stared at Chu Tianfeng. Chu Tianfeng was confused by Ning Shu's stare. What? Ning Shu said, Clean up the house and come with me. Chu Tianfeng said without thinking, Get lost. The Chu family still needed to rely on him. Besides, going out now was like having one's head tied to his belt. If he went out, he would either be robbed or infected with the virus. This virus spread rapidly in humans and animals. Even if the plants weren't contaminated now, it might not be long before the plants were contaminated. After all, there were many corpses buried in the soil. Even if the government spent a lot of effort, there were still some animal corpses that they didn't have time to deal with. Soaking in the sewers meant rotting in the soil. Plants absorbed the nutrients in the soil. Perhaps even the plants would be contaminated. So the living environment now was extremely difficult. Even more difficult. To make matters worse, there hadn't been any rain since the outbreak of the flu. The drought had lasted until now. During this period there was artificial rain, but it was a little drizzle that was quickly evaporated by the hot weather. It was useless. There wasn't much clean water to begin with, and now there was a drought. Water was the source of life. There was no way to survive now. So when Ning Shu invited Chu Tianfeng to go with him, Chu Tianfeng refused without thinking. Going out at this time was an act of suicide. It was fine if he wanted to die, but he wanted to drag him down with him. What a wild ambition. Ning Shu wanted to find Wenge. He thought that Chu Tianfeng was the male lead and it would be easier to get close to Wenge. Now that the world was in shambles, Ning Shu's mood was the same as Xiao Tianxuan's. Please don't collapse. If the world collapsed, Ning Shu didn't know what kind of punishment he would receive. More importantly, it would affect the world next to him. He failed his first mission? He would lose all his face. Ning Shu looked Chu Tianfeng up and down. Do I know why you're running around? Chu Tianfeng, you want to die. Ning Shu said, I want to find a place to live. I can't live in a big city. Let's go somewhere else. You can come with me. Chu Tianfeng said, I want to take care of the Chu family. Forget it. Just dig a hole and bury the gold and jewelry. As for the company, who's working now? No one. In this situation, only the medical team was working. Only by conquering this virus could humans and the whole world survive. Although the government would provide relief and provide some clean water and food after a period of time, the situation was getting worse. The Chu clan no longer exists. What are you guarding it for? If I leave, you'll be all alone. There won't be anyone to take care of you. You might as well follow me. I won't let you get infected. Do you want to come with me? Chu Tianfeng was a little hesitant, but he was still very wary of Ning Shu. He felt that Chu Yongning wanted to harm him. Ning Shu, money is useless now. Why would I harm you? It wasn't like there hadn't been an incident in history where 1 ingot of gold could buy a bun. Money was useless to Ning Shu. Chapter 34-33. A stack of money wasn't even as valuable as a bottle of clean water. Chu Tianfeng sneered and didn't reject him immediately. He looked hesitant, but he seemed to be very tempted. Okay, let's go together after I'm done. Chu Tianfeng had nothing to worry about now. Grandpa was gone, and the Chu family was just like that. Damn, the last family member he had was the annoying Chu Yongning. Ning Shu nodded. Sure, let's go together and find a way to save the world. Chu Tianfeng sneered. Save the world? Chu Tianfeng found a place to bury some of the jewelry in the house. He did it behind Ning Shu's back. He was still very wary of Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't care. It seemed that the Chu family had a secret place. There was a lot of gold and all kinds of jewelry there. Leaving these things was probably a backup plan. In case something happened, they could rely on these things to make a comeback. Chu Tianfeng placed all these things in the place. After that, he said to Ning Shu, "We can go now." To travel. Ning Shu let Chu Tianfeng drive while he sat comfortably in the front passenger seat. When Chu Tianfeng was tired, he would take over. Chu Tianfeng asked, "Where are we going?" Chu Tianfeng drove very carefully to prevent people from suddenly appearing and robbing them. They had a lot of water and convenience food in the car. There were also pots and pans, probably because Chu Tianfeng wanted to eat something hot on the way. Ning Shu said, "If you want to eat, cook yourself." Chu Tianfeng was a second-generation rich kid who had everything laid out for him. How could he know how to cook? It was impossible for Ning Shu to cook. She didn't need to eat. Even if she was a spirit, she wouldn't feel hungry. She was so energy-saving and frugal. Why are we still going to S City? Chu Yongning said before that he wanted to go to S City. Why was he so persistent? Ning Shu said, "Actually, I'm going to find someone." Chu Dunfeng rolled his eyes unhappily. "Aren't you going to save the world?" "Yeah, it won't stop me from saving the world." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "By the way, didn't you buy a woman? How did you deal with her?" Chu Tianfeng's face grew long, like a donkey's face. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and asked, "What's wrong?" "He ran away," Chu Tianfeng said. Ning Shu snorted. "Can I interpret it as her abandoning you? In the end, it wasn't Wenge. If it was Wenge, she wouldn't have run away like that. That's not right. It's obviously better for her to follow you. Is there something wrong with this girl's brain?" The Chu family's resources were very good. Chu Tianfeng interrupted Ning Shu impatiently. "Can we not talk about this anymore?" Ning Shu, "Why can't I tell you? Also, don't be sad. It's a deal, there's nothing to be sad about." Chu Tianfeng wanted service, and that girl wanted money. There was nothing to be sad about. However, if Chu Tianfeng thought that others would be loyal to him, then he was thinking too much. Moreover, everyone was busy trying to save their own lives. Under such circumstances, feelings were very fragile. A life was not even comparable to a meal. "Can you shut up?" Chu Tianfeng roared. He stepped on the accelerator and sped up, raising a lot of dust. "Ning Shu, slow down. If there's a problem with the car, you can fix it." Chu Tianfeng didn't know how to fix the car. He could only slow down. Ning Shu shook his head and said, "In such an environment, it's not easy for a young master like you, who can't differentiate between grain and limb to survive. Usually, there were servants to do the laundry, cooking, and cleaning. But at this time, there were no servants to serve Chu Tianfeng. Can you stop talking? You're a man, why are you talking so much? You don't have to worry about whether I can survive or not. I won't die even if you die. Chu Yongning was so annoying. No one would think that he was mute if he didn't talk. Ning Shu, you're a man. Why are you like a woman and not listening? As your uncle, I'm your only family in this world. I have to teach you how to survive in this world. In this world, we don't have to sign documents. We can just have meetings. Ning Shu acted like an elder. Chu Tianfeng blocked Ning Shu. Ning Shu was bored, so he yawned and closed his eyes to sleep. Just as he was sleeping comfortably, he was violently shaken awake. Ning Shu opened his eyes and asked, "What are you doing?" "Look outside." Ning Shu looked out the window and saw a group of people holding watermelon knives around the car. They were glaring at them. "Ning Shu, can't we just run them over?" "Would these people be able to run them over?" "There's a needle in front. What can I do?" What was the point of driving over and having the tires pierced? "Four of the tires are broken now," Chu Tianfeng said. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and asked Chu Tianfeng, "Can you fight?" "Yes, I know the way of the sword," Chu Tianfeng said. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. How could they fight when they were poking each other with a sword? Moreover, they were covered in thick layers. Ning Shu looked at the shiny knives in their hands. If he asked Chu Tianfeng to fight, he would probably get beaten up. Absolutely, absolutely. Ning Shu pushed open the car door, looked at the crowd and asked, "In broad daylight, the world is clear. Shut up. Take out everything in the car. Everything." These people were not in the mood to listen to Ning Shu's nonsense. Ning Shu sighed. Why were people so irritable nowadays? Why didn't they listen to what he had to say? "Ning Shu, I won't." "Don't come out," Ning Shu said to Chu Tianfeng. Chu Tianfeng was a little worried. "Can you do it?" There were 6 of them, and each of them had a weapon in their hands. Could this fake uncle of his do it? Ning Shu winked at Chu Tianfeng. "Believe in your uncle. He can do it." Ning Shu used his martial arts and mental strength to knock them down one by one. Soon, they were lying on the ground, unable to get up. Ning Shu put away the fruit knives. They were weapons, after all. Chu Tianfeng was a little stunned. How could this uncle be so strong? He could fight a few of them alone? These robbers were lying on the ground moaning. Ning Shu kicked them. "Do you have any tires? If you do, take them out quickly. Also, clean up these nails. Otherwise, do it again." The posture was wrong. Do it again. Actually, the car had a spare tire, but all 4 wheels were broken. They did not have that many tires. These people had broken their tires, so they had to deal with it properly. "Yo, no one is moving?" Ning Shu clenched her fists so hard that they made cracking sounds. She looked coldly at these people and stepped on the leg of the person closest to her. It was so painful that he immediately howled in pain. The others heard the painful cry and couldn't help but tremble. Chapter 34-34. Even Chu Tianfeng didn't expect his uncle to be so ruthless. Even when he heard the screams, he felt the pain. On the phone. Then he felt the pain coming from the car window. Yes. The others were frightened by Ning Shu. They went to the nearby auto repair shop to get the tires and change them. Then they waved at the car that was driving away. They sent the killing god away. Chu Tianfeng glanced at Ning Shu as if nothing had happened. Ning Shu asked, "Nephew, what are you doing? Why are you looking at me?" Chu Tianfeng asked, "Where did you learn kung fu?" Usually, Chu Yongning looked careless as if he didn't care about anything. People couldn't tell whether he was telling the truth or not. This time, he was surprisingly good at beating people up. Why was he so skilled? Did he fight often? He didn't see him beat people up at home. This Chu Yongning really hit it well. If it wasn't for today, he wouldn't have known that Chu Yongning was so violent. It's overseas. It's actually very chaotic overseas. It's impossible to survive without some strength. I'm good at many things. Chu Tianfeng merely chuckled, feeling a lot more at ease. After all, at a time like this, an extra bit of strength meant an extra bit of hope for survival. At this time, strength was something people believed in, and money was useless. Society continued to be chaotic. There was no money, and the primitive law of the jungle had been dealt with. The strong could survive, and the weak could only be eliminated. Chu Tianfeng couldn't help but ask, "Why do you have to go to S City?" "I told you, I'm going to find someone," Ning Shu said unhappily. "I've said it a few times. Can you remember it with your brain?" Chu Tianfeng was cold. He was very unhappy to be scolded like this. "I'm tired. I'm going to sleep for a while. You drive." Chu Tianfeng gave the steering wheel to Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't say anything and started to drive. In order to avoid being noticed by Chu Tianfeng, Ning Shu would pretend to be very tired and occasionally eat and drink some water. It would be suspicious if he didn't eat, drink, or rest. "Chu Yongning, why are you eating so little?" He couldn't even finish a bag of biscuits. Drinking 2 mouthfuls of water could last him half a day. "Ning Shu, you might not know this, but I cut my stomach to lose weight. My stomach is so small." Chu Tianfeng. He was always full of tricks. Chu Tianfeng didn't know if he should trust him. He felt like he was about to be played to death. Chu Tianfeng had always been a very particular person, so not being able to clean himself during the journey made him very irritable. But after a long time, it would still be the same. Chu Tianfeng was disgusted by the sour smell of his own sweat. Ning Shu felt that Chu Tianfeng might have liked the smell of kissing. It was obviously unpleasant, but he insisted on smelling it. What was wrong with him? "What do you mean? Why don't you smell?" Chu Tianfeng approached Ning Shu and sniffed hard, but he didn't smell anything. Instead, he smelled a faintly discernible fragrance, but the fragrance was mixed with the smell of the sea. In short, the taste was quite complicated, but it was good that his whole body was sour. "Ning Shu, I was born not to sweat." He was that awesome. Chu Tianfeng felt that this person, whatever words he wanted to say. Just like that, Ning Shu and Chu Tianfeng took turns driving. After a few days of travel, they finally arrived at S City. Of course, the road wasn't very peaceful. Places like the gas stations were all occupied. As long as someone came to refuel, they would immediately rob the passers-by. Some people were more brutal. Not only did they rob, they would also kill. If there were women around, they would even violate them. First rape, then kill. When faced with such brutal criminals, Ning Shu would directly cripple him. Now that the country was in chaos, there was no way to maintain law and order. All kinds of forces were also stirring. At the moment, the regime was divided. Ordinary laws could no longer deter criminals. Even with strict laws, there were still people who took the risk to commit crimes. Now that there were no laws to restrict them, they could do whatever they wanted without having to bear legal responsibility. This was simply a paradise for criminals. Chu Tianfeng saw that Ning Shu was either chopping his hands and feet or chopping his cock. His face was expressionless and he felt a chill in his heart. Now that he thought about it, Chu Yongning used to be so tolerant of him. He provoked him so much, but he ignored him. How painful would it be to have his cock chopped off? Chu Tianfeng felt a cold wind below his crotch. When they arrived at S City, Ning Shu released a strong spiritual power to scan for possible places where Wengu might be. He was afraid that Wengu had already left S City. Ning Shu drove around in a big circle just to find Wengu. Chu Tianfeng had a headache from Ning Shu and couldn't help but say, "What do you want to do? Can't you take a detour? I feel uncomfortable." Ning Shu turned to look at him and snorted. Chu Tianfeng immediately shut up and didn't have any objections. It was probably because of Chu Tianfeng's presence. After all, he was related to Wengu. Chu Tianfeng and Wengu were bound to meet sooner or later. Regardless of whether it was to sever all ties or to renew their relationship, the two of them would still have to meet. Wengu was still in S City. Ning Shu found the community where Wengu lived through his spiritual power. There weren't many people in this community. Some of the houses were already empty. The disease epidemic in this city was also very serious. The air was dirty. The house next to Wenji's was empty. Ning Shu took Chu Tianfeng to the house next to Wenji's and planned to stay in this empty house. Chu Tianfeng looked at the security door and asked, "Do you have the key? Did you buy a house here?" "No, there's no one here. We'll stay here for the time being." Chu Tianfeng. It was better to live in a villa than a place like this. Why did they come all the way here? And how could they get in without the key? Ning Shu directly stretched out his foot and kicked the door. With a bang, the door fell to the ground. The wall shook. Chu Tianfeng covered his face. Was this a fucking human? Chu Tianfeng felt that it wasn't easy for him to live until now. He provoked Chu Yongning all the time. He was so lucky that Chu Yongning didn't kick him to death. The commotion here was so loud that the siblings next door were startled by the commotion. Wengu opened the door and saw Chu Tianfeng and Ning Shu. She rubbed her eyes and saw the door on the ground. Was she blind? Why did she see this uncle and nephew pair here? Chu Tianfeng saw Wengu standing at the door. Her snow-white skin was so white that it was transparent. She was clean and full of spiritual energy. At this moment, her clear eyes were looking at them, full of surprise. Chu Tianfeng didn't know why, but when he saw this girl, his heart began to pound. It's the fastest novel website. Chapter 34-35. Chu Tianfeng had an inexplicable feeling in his heart. It was very strange and uncontrollable. Take a look. It was a complicated feeling. It was very complicated. Impulses made him want to hug the woman in front of him. There was also a feeling that belonged to him and that he was very familiar with her. Ning Shu was the first to speak. He said in surprise, "Hey, why are you here?" Chu Tianfeng was immediately unhappy. "You know each other?" "Nephew. Don't act jealous." Ning Shu stared at him. After seeing Ning Shu's violence, Chu Tianfeng immediately shut up. Wenji's emotions were very turbulent. She really didn't want to mess with Chu Tianfeng first. How did Chu Tianfeng, who was originally far away, suddenly appear in front of her? When she saw Chu Tianfeng, Wenji's heart was in a mess. Without saying a word, she slammed the door shut. She leaned against the door and touched her chest. Deep breaths, deep breaths. In this life, Chu Tianfeng was no longer her creditor. They had nothing to do with each other. There was no need to be afraid. Chu Tianfeng saw that the girl slammed the door without saying a word and felt that her temper was really bad. There was a sour and numb feeling in his heart. Ning Shu looked at Chu Tianfeng's pig face and put up the door to block it. He had to move the door every time he went out. He didn't even have to repair it. After all, there was nothing valuable in the house. Chu Tianfeng asked Ning Shu, "Can you tell me your purpose now? This house is really small. Are we really going to live in a house like this?" Chu Tianfeng looked at the house. Oh my God, this house wasn't even as big as his bathroom. How could people live in a place like this? The girl next door lived in a house like this. It was too small for her. She deserved better things. Better, the best thing. Ning Shu said, "You're already out. Don't be so pretentious, okay? The bloodthirsty factor in my body has completely exploded. I'm afraid that I won't be able to control myself and will beat you up." Chu Tianfeng. See, Grandpa wasn't around anymore. Chu Yongning was bullying her. Chu Tianfeng paused for a moment before asking, "You know the girl next door?" Ning Shu nodded. "Yeah, I quite like her. She's pretty, right? She might be your aunt in the future." Chu Tianfeng almost jumped up. "You old bastard, you're actually thinking about that little girl." Ning Shu laughed coldly. "If I'm an old cabbage, then you're also an old cabbage. I'm at least a few years younger than you." Chu Tianfeng and Ning Shu went tit for tat. Ning Shu curled his lips, his face full of disdain. Could it be that Chu Tianfeng fell in love with the beautiful Wengu at first sight? After her rebirth, Wengu was even more outstanding than before. Her skin was like a peeled egg, so tender that water could be squeezed out. Looking at her made people want to place her in their hearts. Pervert. Ning Shu walked out of the house and knocked on the door next door. Chu Tianfeng shamelessly followed Ning Shu. Wengu saw two handsome faces through the smoke. Although they were a little distorted, they were still pleasing to the eye. However, Wen-gu was frightened. She hadn't thought about how to face Chu Tianfeng. "Sister, what's wrong?" Wen-hua saw his sister's pale face and couldn't help but ask. "Nothing." Wen-hua's body was thin and weak. Even a middle-aged man like him could be infected by the virus. However, Wen-hua had lived until now with a weak body and hadn't been infected. It could be said that he was a miracle. It could be seen how much effort Wen-gu put into her brother. "Someone is knocking on the door outside. Should we open the door?" Wen-hua knew that the current society was different. He couldn't open the door casually. There was once when someone knocked on the door. He opened the door, but in the end, someone entered the room and took away all the food and drinks in the house. From then on, Wen-hua didn't need his sister's instructions. As long as someone knocked on the door, he would definitely not open the door. It wasn't easy for his sister to find supplies. He couldn't share his sister's burden and even let someone snatch the things away. They just moved in next door. Actually, they're all people that sister knows. Wen-hua was a little puzzled. Then why didn't sister open the door? Of course, she couldn't open the door. When she saw Chu Tianfeng's face, she thought of her previous life. After all, Chu Tianfeng was someone she loved. When she suddenly saw him, it was inevitable that she would panic. Wen-gu repeatedly hypnotized herself in her heart. She was no longer the same person as before. She didn't need to please Chu Tianfeng. Moreover, the current Chu Tianfeng didn't know her at all. Wen-gu opened the door and said coldly, "What are you doing?" "Ning Shu, haven't we met before?" Wen-gu pretended to be enlightened. "Oh, it's you, Chu Yongning. You gave me your name card back then. By the way, why are you here?" Wen-gu was really good. This place was very far from the city where the Chu family was located. Ning Shu introduced Chu Tianfeng. "This is my nephew, Chu Tianfeng. The Chu family is bankrupt, so we had no choice but to come here." Bankrupt? Wen-gu couldn't help but look at Chu Tianfeng. The Chu family was really bankrupt. Chu Tianfeng. A wave of hatred shot towards Ning Shu. Bankrupt? Chu Tianfeng didn't even know when he went bankrupt. Moreover, it was in front of a girl that he had feelings for. A man's dignity was trampled on. This fake uncle was definitely taking revenge on him. Wen-gu didn't expect the big Chu family to go bankrupt. Chu Tianfeng, who had always been dressed in a suit, was now wearing casual clothes. His hair was shaved, but now it was pulled down. His aura wasn't as strong as before, and there was a decadent aura about him. Perhaps it was because of Wen-ji's preconceived notions, but when she learned that Chu Tianfeng was bankrupt, she felt that he was very decadent. His clothes were wrinkled and yellow with sweat stains. He looked a little sloppy. Chu Tianfeng. Try cooped up in the car for a few days without taking a shower. Anyway, Chu Tianfeng had never experienced not taking a shower for such a long time in his life. Feeling the shock and pity in the other party's eyes, Chu Tianfeng wanted to explode on the spot. Chu Tianfeng said seriously, "I'm not bankrupt." But Wen-gu didn't believe it at all. The Chu Tianfeng she knew was very particular. He would even wash his skin when taking a shower. How could he let himself be in such a sorry state? Moreover, Chu Tianfeng only went to high-end places. He wouldn't appear in such an ordinary neighborhood. Therefore, bankruptcy was a sure thing. Ning Shu's words successfully made Wen-ji's fear disappear. Because of her lifetime, Wen-gu was always a little weak in front of Chu Tianfeng. She was almost reflexively scared. But now that Chu Tianfeng was bankrupt, the halo around him was extinguished. It wasn't as dazzling anymore. At the same time, his charm wasn't as strong. It's the fastest novel website. Chapter 34-36. Of course, Ning Shu knew that Chu Tianfeng had feelings for Wen-gu. After all, Wen-gu was such a beautiful and smart girl. There was no man who wouldn't like her, especially since the two of them had such a past. Ning Shu said that Chu Tianfeng was bankrupt on purpose. Previously, he always gave her a hard time and always said that she was robbing him. Ning Shu said to Wen-gu, "Why are you here? It's not very safe here." Wen-gu asked back, "Then why are you here?" It wasn't that Wen-gu didn't want to leave, but it was the same no matter where she went now. Moreover, the road was very dangerous. People were not what they used to be and could do anything. She had a lot of food in her bracelet that could last her for a long time. Most importantly, the things in the bracelet would never expire. Even some vegetables, fruits, and the like would always be preserved in a fresh and juicy state. Even if they were not fresh, they would be fresh again after soaking in the spiritual spring. It was not safe to run outside at all. Moreover, her brother's body couldn't be so bumpy. If they kept living like this, they would wait until everything was over. However, Wen-gu didn't expect that the Chu family would go bankrupt and suddenly appear in front of her. Ning Shu said, "There are too many enemies in that city. You know that the Chu family has business partners and competitors. At this time, society is so chaotic that they can only run away." Chu Tianfeng was speechless. How could he be like this? What kind of words came out of his mouth so easily? He was speechless. He said it as if it was true. Most importantly, this girl seemed to believe it. Why was this girl so nice to the fake uncle but so repulsive to him? Chu Tianfeng was not a block of wood. He couldn't feel other people's feelings. Chu Tianfeng wondered if he had offended this girl in the past. Had he seen her before? Wen-gu only said, "The world is so chaotic now. Since you moved here, please live in peace. But if you have any bad intentions, don't blame me for being rude." There were secret manuals in her bracelet that could be used for cultivation. Although these manuals couldn't be used for cultivation, some martial arts could be used to deal with these two people. "Humph," Ning Shu gently said, "Yes, don't worry, I won't do anything to you. What good would it do me to do anything to you?" Ning Shu acted like an elder and was especially amiable. Wen-gu looked at Chu Tianfeng. "You're not saying anything. Does that mean you have bad intentions?" Wen-gu was not afraid of Chu Tianfeng at all. No. Chu Tianfeng was a little speechless. Was there a need to treat him so differently? "Look at your shifty-eyed and wretched appearance. I can tell at a glance that you're not a good person." Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. Chu Tianfeng was speechless. The counterattack that pierced through the roof was beautiful. Wen-ji's back was really straight now. Between men and women, it was either the east wind suppressing the west wind or the west wind suppressing the east wind. Now, Wen-gu had the advantage. Chu Tianfeng sneered. His expression was a little evil. He leaned against the wall and looked at Wen-gu. "Since I'm such a wretched person, I'll be letting you down if I don't do something." Ning Shu kicked Chu Tianfeng away and said to Wen-gu, "Ignore him. He's been a domineering Xiao for too long. When you were a domineering Xiao, doing something like that would dazzle people. But if you didn't do anything, you would be a hooligan. It depended on your face and money." Wen-gu glanced at Chu Tianfeng, whose face was trembling in pain, and sneered. This snort was very sarcastic. "Shishi." Chu Tianfeng was speechless. He pointed at the door and looked at Ning Shu indignantly. Ning Shu turned and went into the house, ignoring Chu Tianfeng. Chu Tianfeng had no choice but to follow Ning Shu into the house. He looked at the door on the wall and asked, "Aren't we going to deal with this door?" Ning Shu, "Who would rob two men like us? The people next door are all weak. It's fine as long as we don't bully them." Ning Shu brushed the dust off the sofa and lay down on it, closing his eyes to rest. Chu Tianfeng saw that the house was full of dust and there was no place to stand. How could he live in a place like this? Chu Tianfeng now regretted following Ning Shu out. "You think it's dirty? Then clean it." Chu Tianfeng was dumbfounded. "Clean it? Let him clean it?" Ning Shu ignored him. Chu Tianfeng had no choice. He looked around the house and couldn't find any cleaning tools. So he thought about it and decided to borrow something next door. His feet almost walked uncontrollably to the next door. Ning Shu curled his lips. What a wild ambition. Chu Tianfeng naturally returned without success. He couldn't even borrow anything. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. What a piece of trash. He couldn't even borrow anything. Ning Shu had no choice but to do it herself and successfully borrowed the item. Chu Tianfeng was 100% sure that the woman next door was definitely targeting him. But in terms of appearance, he was definitely more handsome than Chu Yongning. He couldn't figure it out. Ning Shu handed the tools to Chu Tianfeng and let him clean. Chu Tianfeng had no choice but to clean it, but it was a mess. Even if it was a mess, Ning Shu wouldn't help. Ning Shu paid full attention to the next door. Under Ning Shu's mental power, he knew exactly what the sister and brother next door were doing. He often saw when Goose suddenly disappear. She obviously entered the bracelet and soon came out with a lot of things. The juicy fruits made people salivate just by looking at them. When Ji's brother was in good condition, young adults all died of infection. When Hua wasn't infected, the most important thing was that his kidney failure was slowly getting better. Spiritual energy was really a good thing. And there would be people coming to find Wengu. Her brothers were all good-looking and not to be trifled with. Looking at their temperament, they should be rich and noble. They came to deliver things to Wengu. But Wengu rejected them all. She would use spiritual energy to give these people some water. It seemed that they were friends with Wengu. There were also some people who came to buy medicinal herbs from Wengu. These people bought medicinal herbs from Wengu and found that her medicinal herbs were especially good. Ning Shu felt that it wasn't that the medicinal herbs were good, but that the spiritual energy contained in the medicinal herbs had an inhibitory effect on this virus. There were many men coming and going next door. This made Chu Tiange very unhappy. Why were there always people looking for Wengu? And there was no lack of high-quality men. Chu Tianfeng drank jar after jar of vinegar. Although he repeatedly told himself that this damn woman had nothing to do with him, he still couldn't help but feel jealous. His heart was scratching his lungs. But there was nothing he could do. Chu Tianfeng took the supplies at home, such as biscuits and water. When he tried to curry favor with her with this kind of thing, he was given the cold shoulder. Chapter 34-37. Maybe it was for the sake of the world, or maybe it was greed. Wengu laughed out loud. Li Jun, you obviously want something, but you use such a clumsy excuse. I don't have anything. Even if I did, I wouldn't give it to you. Li Jun looked at her. So you have something? Wengu, no, I don't know what you're talking about. We're not infected because my brother and I don't go out and don't eat dirty things. How can we be infected? Li Jun shook his head, still gently persuading Wengu with data. It's not that simple. I've done the statistics. If one is a coincidence, then everyone is the same. It's not a coincidence. Wengu, I don't want to hurt you. So many people are being tortured. If you really have a way, please help the people who are suffering. Wengu, I'm not the only one who has doubts now. Others also have doubts. I will protect you. Wengu was so disgusted by Li Jun's face that she wanted to vomit. There was no one who could talk about snatching things in such a beautiful and refined manner. This Li Jun was not like this before. Did she misjudge him? Wengu, I really don't want to hurt you. Wenji's temper was good and she was good-looking. It would be strange if no man liked her. Li Jun also liked Wengu. If Wengu could hand over those things, he could protect Wengu. Li Jun wanted both the woman and the money. He wanted the things and Wengu also wanted them. Wengu rolled her eyes and said impolitely, "Come on." Wengu looked at Li Jun with murderous eyes. She had always been careful, but she still noticed that if she let Li Jun go, there would be more people coming to find her in the future. There would be no end to it. Her brother's body could not withstand the torture. If he fled, something might really happen to her brother. So, Wenji's heart trembled. She had never killed anyone in her 2 lives. Wengu, a girl, could not kill someone. And she did not dare to. Especially when there were so many people. More than 10 burly men directly blocked the room. Wengu wasn't very confident in her skills. Was she really going to be caught today? The bodyguards behind Li Jun directly surrounded Wengu. These bodyguards were filled with valiance and killing intent. They were people with blood on their bodies. He had killed someone. It was difficult for 2 fists to fight 4 hands, especially when Wenji's kung fu was mediocre. She had not fought at all and overestimated her own strength. Wengu immediately subdued her. Wengu couldn't move. She was sweating profusely as she struggled, and she was panting from exhaustion. Wengu wanted to scream and wake up the uncle and niece next door, But she thought that this matter had nothing to do with them, so there was no need to involve them. Besides, even if the two of them came, it wouldn't change the situation. Forget it. After all, Chu Tianfeng was someone she loved in her past life. She only hoped that her younger brother would be able to calm down and find the uncle and nephew next door. Seeing Wenji's resignation and unwillingness, Li Jun said to the bodyguard, "Search the house and find the child." Wengu immediately raised her head and glared at Li Jun. She gritted her teeth and said, "Li Jun, Wenhua has always liked you. He treats you like his own brother. Doesn't your conscience hurt by doing this?" Li Jun said, "I won't hurt your brother. I just want you and your brother to come with me. With my protection, you will be safer." Protection? She was sure it was protection and not imprisonment. Li Jun knew that she cared about Wenhua the most. He wanted to use her as a bargaining chip to threaten her and force her to compromise. The child hidden in the cupboard was also found and pulled out. "Sister." Wenhua's expression was scared and confused. Obviously, he didn't understand that the big brother who had been very good to him before was now ruthless. Wengu endured the pain in her body and comforted her brother. "Don't be afraid. Sister is here. Take him away," Li Jun said. He turned around and saw a person leaning against the door, looking at the situation in the room with his arms crossed. Not one person, but two people. Wengu saw Ningshu and Chu Tianfeng and said coldly, "What are you doing? You want to steal my things again. Get lost." Li Jun raised his eyebrows. "What did they steal from you? I'll help you get it back." "Just some food. It's all in the dog's stomach now. So they also ate your things? Bring them back together. Bring them back and study them together." Wenji's expression changed. She said to Ningshu and Chu Tianfeng, "You guys go quickly." Ningshu said to Chu Tianfeng, "Now is the best time for a hero to save the beauty. Go." Chu Tianfeng was speechless. If he couldn't find a wife, the Chu family line would end. It must be this fake uncle's fault. How could he face his grandfather? Chu Tianfeng was awakened by Ningshu's kick and then came over. Chu Tianfeng was furious when he saw Wengu being treated like this. But the other party had more people, and all of them were martial artists. It was useless for him to go. Chu Tianfeng suddenly realized that he was a useless person. He was completely useless. It was so frustrating. At this time, only the violent uncle could go. Ningshu sighed. "You deserve to be single. You deserve to be treated badly by Wengu. I've created an opportunity for you. Even if you can't beat them, you have to rush up and show off. If you break your leg and spit blood, Wengu will definitely be moved." Ningshu moved his neck and pinched his knuckles. Come on. He could have directly used his spiritual force to attack, but he didn't want to be treated as a monster. It was better to use his fists honestly. Li Jun coldly asked the bodyguards to go. Ningshu rushed forward and performed a series of actions in the crowd. When she turned around, she saw that everyone had fallen to the ground. Ningshu blew his fist and looked at Li Jun. "Can you get out now?" Li Jun was a gentleman, just like Chu Tianfeng. Anyway, there were people below to help him. It was not his turn to do this kind of thing. He was as weak as Chu Tianfeng. All his men were knocked down. It seemed that he couldn't take Wengu away today. Halfway through, Li Jun said, "You're also here for Wengu. Can we cooperate?" "What cooperation? I don't understand. Now Wengu is under my protection. Get out if you don't want to die." Ningshu twisted his wrist and said to Wengu, "I've caught this man. I'll leave him to you." Wengu nodded. "Thank you." Ningshu. Li Jun's face suddenly became very ugly. The people under him were either unconscious or unable to fight. He came to catch people. How did he get caught? When did such a powerful person move in next door to Wengu? Chapter 34-38. Maybe it was for the sake of the world, or maybe it was greed. Wengu laughed out loud. "Li Jun, you obviously want something, but you use such a clumsy excuse. I don't have anything. Even if I have, I won't give it to you." Li Jun looked at her. "So you have something?" Wengu, "No, I don't know what you're talking about. We're not infected because my brother and I don't go out and don't eat dirty things. How can we be infected? Li Jun shook his head, still gently persuading Wengu with data. It's not that simple. I've done the statistics. One is a coincidence, everyone is the same. It's not something that can be explained by coincidence. Wengu, I don't want to hurt you. So many people are being tortured. If you really have a way, please help the people who are suffering. Wengu, I'm not the only one who has doubts now. Others also have doubts. I will protect you. Wengu was so disgusted by Li Jun's face that she wanted to vomit. There was no one else who could talk about snatching things in such a beautiful and refined manner. This Li Jun was not like this before. Did she misjudge him? Wengu, I really don't want to hurt you. Wenji's temper was good and she was good-looking. It would be strange if no man liked her. Li Jun also liked Wengu. If Wengu could hand over those things, he could protect Wengu. Li Jun wanted both the woman and the money. He wanted the things and Wengu also wanted them. Wengu rolled her eyes and said impolitely, "Come on." Wengu looked at Li Jun with murderous eyes. She had always been careful, but she still noticed that if she let Li Jun go, there would be more people coming for her in the future. There was no end to it. Her brother's body could not withstand the torture. If she escaped, her brother might really be in trouble. So, Wenji's heart trembled. She had never killed anyone in her 2 lives. Wengu, a girl, could not kill someone. And she did not dare to. Especially when there were so many people. More than 10 burly men directly blocked the room. Wengu wasn't very confident in her skills. Was she really going to be caught today? The bodyguards behind Li Jun directly surrounded Wengu. These bodyguards were filled with valiance and killing intent. They were people with blood in their bodies. There were lives in his hands. It was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands, especially since Wenji's kung fu was mediocre. She had not fought at all and overestimated her own strength. Wengu immediately subdued it. Wengu couldn't move at all. She was sweating profusely as she struggled, and she was panting from exhaustion. Wengu wanted to scream and wake up the uncle and niece next door, but she thought that this matter had nothing to do with them, so there was no need to involve them. Besides, even if the 2 of them came, the situation wouldn't change at all. Forget it. After all, Chu Tianfeng was someone she had loved in her previous life. She only hoped that her younger brother would be able to calm down and find the uncle and nephew next door. Seeing Wenji's resignation and unwillingness, Li Jun said to the bodyguard, "Search the house and find the child." Wengu immediately raised her head and glared at Li Jun. She gritted her teeth and said, "Li Jun, Wenhua has always liked you. He treats you like his own brother. Doesn't your conscience hurt by doing this?" Li Jun said, "I won't hurt your brother. I just want you and your brother to come with me. With my protection, you will be safer." Protection? She was sure it was protection and not imprisonment. Li Jun knew that she cared about Wenhua the most. He wanted to use him as a bargaining chip to threaten her and force her to compromise. The child hidden in the cupboard was also found and pulled out. "Sister." Wenhua's expression was scared and confused. Obviously, he didn't understand that the big brother who had been very good to him before was now ruthless. Wengu endured the pain in her body and comforted her brother. "Don't be afraid. Sister is here. Take him away," Li Jun said. He turned around and saw a person leaning against the door, looking at the situation in the room with his arms crossed. Not one person, but 2 people. Wengu saw Ning Shu and Chu Tianfeng and said coldly, "What are you doing? You want to steal my things again. Get lost." Li Jun raised his eyebrows. "What did they steal from you? I'll help you get it back." "It's some food. It's all in the dog's stomach now. So they also ate your things? Bring them back together." He would bring them back and study them together. Wenji's expression changed. She said to Ning Shu and Chu Tianfeng, "Hurry up and leave." Ning Shu said to Chu Tianfeng, "Now is the best time for the hero to save the beauty." Go. Chu Tianfeng was speechless. If he couldn't find a wife, the Chu family line would end. It must be this fake uncle's fault. How could he face his grandfather? Chu Tianfeng was awakened by Ning Shu's kick and then came over. Chu Tianfeng was furious when he saw Wen Gu being treated like this. But the other party had more people, and all of them were martial artists. It was useless for him to go. Chu Tianfeng suddenly realized that he was a useless person. He was completely useless. It was so frustrating. At this time, only the violent uncle was left. Ning Shu sighed. You deserve to be single. You deserve to be treated badly by Wen Gu. I've created an opportunity for you. Even if he couldn't beat them, he had to show off. His legs were broken and he was beaten until he vomited blood. It would definitely move Wen Gu. Ning Shu moved his neck and pinched his knuckles. Come on. He could have directly used his spiritual force to attack, but he didn't want to be treated as a monster. It was better to use his fists. Li Jun let the bodyguard go with a cold face. Ning Shu rushed over and did something in the crowd. When he looked back, everyone fell to the ground. Ning Shu blew his fist and looked at Li Jun. Can you get out now? Li Jun was a gentleman, just like Chu Tianfeng. Anyway, there were people below to help him. It was not his turn to do this kind of thing. He was as weak as Chu Tianfeng. All his men were beaten down. It seemed that he couldn't take Wen Gu away today. Halfway through, Li Jun said, You're also here for Wen Gu. Can we cooperate? What cooperation? I don't understand. Now Wen Gu is under my protection. If you don't want to die, get out. Ning Shu twisted his wrist and said to Wen Gu, I've caught this man. I'll leave him to you. Wen Gu nodded. Thank you. Ning Shu. Li Jun's face suddenly became very ugly. The people under him were either unconscious or unable to fight. He came to catch people. How did it become him who was caught? When did such a powerful person move in next door to Wen Gu? It's the fastest novel website. Chapter 3441. Chu Tianfeng had never cared about what other people thought before because he hadn't met anyone who cared. He really wanted to strangle this annoying Chu Yongning. But when he thought of how Ning Shu had kicked the door down, he was speechless. There was nothing he could do about him. Chu Tianfeng looked at Ning Shu suspiciously. You like Wen Gu too, so you're causing trouble everywhere? Ning Shu shook his head. I care about Wen Gu as an elder. I've known her longer than you. Secondly, even if Wen Gu wants to choose a partner, she should find someone like me, safe, steady and most importantly, handsome. Chu Tianfeng didn't want to talk nonsense with him anymore. Ning Shu thought for a moment and decided to teach Chu Tianfeng the ultimate martial arts. Cultivate it. It's up to you how much you can cultivate it. Is this the legendary martial arts? Chu Tianfeng was quite interested. Ning Shu said, No, it's Qigong. You'll accumulate some power called Qi in your Dantian. Chu Tianfeng asked expectantly, Then can I become as powerful as you? Ning Shu said, Of course. Impossible. I'm so powerful. You'll have to wait until your next life. Chu Tianfeng felt like flipping the table. He felt that he had been ruined. Ning Shu said, It's up to you whether you want to cultivate it or not. I bought it from an old man abroad. It said that it's useful, so I'm cultivating it too. What could Chu Tianfeng do? He could only start cultivating with the third-rate product. It was not easy to cultivate ultimate martial arts in a world without spiritual energy. However, if Chu Tianfeng wanted to absorb other types of energy, such as the power of the sun or the power of the stars, he wouldn't be able to absorb them. He couldn't even absorb spiritual energy and hadn't even started cultivating. It was impossible for him to show off. Ning Shu still suggested that Chu Tianfeng learn more combat skills. It was useless to rely on ultimate martial arts. It wasn't enough to just have strength without moves. After starting to cultivate and being tortured by Ning Shu every day, Chu Tianfeng's appetite increased a lot. There wasn't a single bit of food left in the house. Chu Tianfeng was probably really a good-for-nothing. Fortunately, she didn't eat much. Occasionally, she would go next door and ask for a small fruit to nibble on. Chu Tianfeng felt that since his uncle ate so little, he was probably about to ascend to immortality. During this time, Wen Gu had been considering whether to form an alliance with Chu Tianfeng and the others. If they formed an alliance, it would mean that his secret could no longer be kept. Looking at his brother's pale complexion and thin body, the little bit of meat that he had painstakingly gained before, after being scared by Li Jun, directly lost weight. Wen Ji's heart ached when she touched all the bones. Wen Ge asked Wen Hua, "Brother, how about we live with 2 people next door in the future?" "It's with the shorter brother. He's very powerful. I'm willing." He appeared like a hero, especially powerful. Children all admired powerful people. Moreover, this person had saved him and his sister. Wen Ge said, "That's your uncle. Don't call him brother." "All right." Wen Ge went next door and hesitated for a while before saying to Ning Shu and Chu Tianfeng, "I'm willing to form an alliance with you. Are you willing to accept me?" Chu Tianfeng nodded. "That's great. We're partners. In the future, living together is much easier than living as a weak woman. Am I right, uncle?" Chu Tianfeng desperately winked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, "Since we're in an alliance, there are some things that we still need to know." Wen Ge raised her hand and there was a lustrous bracelet on her wrist. This bracelet isn't an ordinary bracelet. There's a space inside that can be used to store supplies. In addition to supplies, there's also a small piece of land that can be used to grow some fruits. Wen Ge observed the expressions of the two as she spoke. Ning Shu was expressionless while Chu Tianfeng was shocked. This was completely beyond his knowledge. It can be used to store things? Chu Tianfeng's focus was on whether or not the collected supplies can be placed inside. When the time comes, they can crazily hoard supplies. Recently, Chu Tianfeng felt that he had eaten too much. There wasn't much left of the things that he brought previously. Now that Wen Ge had a space, it would be much more convenient in the future. Wen Ge nodded, "That's right. But this thing can only be used by me." "Uncle, it's great that we have a mobile refrigerator in the future. The siblings are so pitiful," Chu Tianfeng said. Chu Tianfeng didn't have any thoughts about this bracelet. Moreover, only he could use it. Besides, Wen Ge was the person he liked. If they were really together in the future, Wen Ji's things would be his. Ning Shu didn't say anything. He just nodded. Wen Ge saw that the two men didn't have any thoughts about her bracelet for the time being and felt relieved. From now on, she would have to cultivate seriously. Even if the two of them had any thoughts in the future, she would have the strength to deal with it. Now, she and her brother both needed someone to take care of them. Moreover, they would only cooperate if the other party gave them some benefits. Wen Ge still had a little bit of trust in Chu Tianfeng. Even if Chu Tianfeng was bankrupt now, it was impossible to say that she didn't feel anything at all. Wen Ge said, "I think we should leave here. Later, there might be people coming to find me and threaten me and my brother like Li Jun." Ning Shu didn't have any objections. Anyway, she came to this world to take care of the world. Ning Shu was a little familiar with the current state of the world, but he was still not sure. Following the two leads was definitely the right thing to do. Wen Ge discussed with the two of them, "Let's not go too far. Wen Hua's body can't take it. She can't go too far." Ning Shu nodded, "Sure. You guys can discuss it." The male and female leads fusing. It was probably going to take a few days. A team was born just like that. Were Wen Ge and Chu Tianfeng going to continue their relationship? The four of them prepared to leave this place. When they went out, they put on masks and hats. The ultraviolet rays were especially strong now. When they went out, it was so hot that they became distorted and blurry. Now, the power supply department was closed. This summer was especially difficult. Chu Tianfeng drove to the next city. If he came across any supermarkets or gas stations on the way, he would start to crazily stock up on supplies and fuel. Now that he had Wen Ge, a human-shaped storage device, he was afraid that there wouldn't be enough things. He wasn't afraid of not being able to store them. He had to prepare the tires of the car. If they encountered the same situation as before, they wouldn't even have tires. In this kind of weather, walking with 2 pairs of legs was the rhythm of death. Along the way, the four of them got along quite well. There was basically no friction. However, Ning Shu was a little worried. This drought had already lasted for more than a month. If this continued, there would be no more water. All living things, regardless of whether they were animals or plants, needed water. Was the heavenly Tao collapsing, or was it on purpose? It's the fastest novel website. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.